All right, good evening and welcome to the May 5th, 2026 edition of the Clawson City Council meeting. I'm going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and those who wish to join me can do so.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. This evening's words of inspiration are going to be presented by Councilmember
Peltonen.
Thank you.
Got it. You have an excuse today. All right. As the council gathers this evening to make decisions affecting the people of Clawson, I ask we all keep our minds and hearts open to the voices of our community and to each other. Our most serious responsibility is to the residents of this little city we call home. May we all work together toward a common purpose with common sense for the common good.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Mayor Moffett,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Here.
Councilmember Peltonen,
Here.
Councilor Slawinski,
Here.
Councilor Spishak,
Present.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Here.
All right. Our next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Comments or discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Peltonen, Councilor Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilor Spishak,
Yes.
Councilor Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett.
Yes. All right, we have approved our agenda. The next item on the agenda is public comment for items on the agenda. We invite those who wish to speak about items on the agenda to come to the podium. We ask that you let us know if you're a resident of Clawson or a visitor to this fair city. Say your name, and if you're a resident or a visitor, you'll be given 4 minutes to speak. And just as a reminder, this is not a back and forth. The council can't comment on any thing that you say, but we will make a note and try and make sure that any questions or concerns are addressed when we get to that agenda item. Having said all that, I welcome anyone who wishes to speak to items on the agenda to come forward.
Hello, my name is Michelle Roth, and I live on Hendrickson in Clawson. I just wanted to briefly speak on the overnight parking permit. I originally brought this idea to the previous council because my youngest was buying a car and we didn't have room in our driveway. I looked into widening my driveway, but due to Clawson's ordinances, I was unable to get approved for that. I then started researching local cities with the same ordinances and found that many of them used an annual overnight parking permit. I feel this is a great solution for our city. It will keep the fundamentals of the ordinance together and intact while allowing flexibility for people in my situation who, we just need that space. It's not about juggling cars. I don't want to move my son's car in the morning. It's about not having the room. We would block the driveway, the apron part, or we would block a sidewalk. So that's why I came up with this idea. And I wanted to thank each and every one of you for actually going through with this and really considering it and having Berkeley come out tonight. That really shows what a great council and city manager we have. And the police officer, the chief of police, and I think it was Lieutenant Kopernik from Berkeley was absolutely amazing, and you'll be able to hear from him tonight. And I hope that after you hear his presentation, you're able to get the answers that you need, and hopefully we can pass this. Thank you so much.
All right.
Madam Mayor and Council, I am Kristen Urbanik. I am a visitor to the city, but I'm also the DDA director here in the community, and my kids attend school here in the community as well. So I'd like to publicly state my support for the police department's continued use of flat cameras. As both a public servant and a mother of young children, I think I'm viewing this through two lenses. So professionally, I understand the importance of creating an environment where our businesses can succeed and feel confident investing their time and money within our community. But more importantly and personally, I know that if my child were ever involved in a dangerous situation, I would want every available resource used to resolve that as quickly and as safely as possible. And so that's why I'm here tonight. Thank you very much.
Mayor and Council. My name is Scott Chenix, and I'm a frequent visitor to Clawson, but I live in Ferndale. So I'm the Director of Recreation and Senior Services, and it's through that lens that I'm here tonight just to agree with Kristen about how foundational to the safety of our citizens, in my view, particularly our seniors, continuing to have the flock camera systems is. When I've been in other places, I've seen silver alerts that they use, much like Michigan does amber alerts, but it was in Florida and they have a lot of seniors there. So when they have a senior who has gone missing, been unaccounted for, might just be gone shopping and not told anybody, but they're looking for them. I know that license plate readers are very effective for that and helpful. And our seniors are one of our most vulnerable populations. And I think that keeping the flock system that we have, not one of the other systems, you heard a lot at the last meeting, I think, about some other systems that might be out there, but ours is pretty straightforward, and I think it's helpful to protect our seniors. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Philip, and while I'm not a Clawson resident, I do visit often. I have close friends that live here. There's a lot of great food, and I think it's a really wonderful city. But I would like to voice my opposition to the flock contract. Like I said, I'm not a resident, but the flock cameras do affect anyone who comes through the city. So my concerns aren't with the Clawson city or the police. It's more about what flock is as themselves and what the system really means. So let me start by saying that this technology scares me. From what we saw 2 weeks ago, it's not just taking pictures of people's license plates. It's creating unique profiles on every vehicle based on the plate number, make, model, color, bumper stickers, and body damage. And a profile on your vehicle, I really don't see how it's different than a profile on you. Now, I know Clawson only has 4 cameras, but we combine that with other cities' cameras and private business cameras in the area, and it comes together to form a system that tracks you wherever you go. And I think we're already so used to being surveilled and algorithmed by every other device that a lot of people will say, oh, well, your phone's tracking you too. But I would say that existing privacy violations aren't a justification for further privacy violations. And the privacy violations that Flock is doing, in my opinion, are a step beyond the ones that we've unfortunately become accustomed to. For however flimsy it is, we do somewhat consent to data collection when we agree to the terms of service. Now, I know it's not much, but at least it's something. And if I decide that a device is a privacy violation, I can not buy it or stop using it, but I don't have these options with Flock. I never agreed to any terms of service with them, but wherever I go, my data is being collected by them and I'm being tracked regardless. And since obscuring a license plate is against the law, no one who wants to not be tracked has a way of legally preventing the system from collecting the information on them. And this brings me to what this information actually is. I would say that a law enforcement investigation is the police collecting information on a suspect. And Flock automatically collects information on everyone on behalf of the police. So what the system really does is preemptively start investigations into everyone, regardless of whether they've committed a crime. And as long as these cameras exist, these investigations are permanently ongoing. It makes us all suspects forever. The worldview Flock promotes is one where everyone needs to be monitored because anyone, anywhere is capable of doing something terrible at any time. And the only way to stay safe is through constant, ever-present surveillance. This is paranoia. It's divisive. It's fear. It's factually wrong. I don't want us to put our faith in paranoid tech founders who just want to get rich quick. They present as though they have all the solutions, but if we really want to reduce crime, their solutions can only ever be retroactive. We need proactive solutions that see the human behind the crimes. We're innocent until proven guilty. It's a core foundational principle of our justice system. But with things like Flock, we move towards society where everyone is under constant suspicion, where no one can be trusted and everyone is guilty. I hope you reject this. I hope you refuse to accept the idea that your friends, your family, your neighbors need to be tracked in case they commit a crime. I hope that we can continue to build communities not based on suspicion, but based on foundational values of humanity, kindness, and trust in one another. Thank you.
Hello again. My name is Taya, and as I said last time, I am a resident of Oakland County. I'm here often. I know you all have been working diligently to make changes to the proposed contract with Flock Safety, and I really appreciate that you're taking the public's concerns seriously. With that in mind, I would like to raise concerns that regardless of the terms Flock agrees to, there is no oversight into the company's operations. While they might agree to some of your updated terms, there is no mechanism to ensure that the company actually adheres to them, especially for things like limiting Flock engineer access. This is particularly concerning given the company's reputation. At the last meeting, we all listened to a sales pitch, and in numerous instances, the Flock representative lied outright about this technology. He claimed Flock has never been hacked and that the data is encrypted. Both of these claims have been proven false by several independent researchers. He claimed that the data is completely owned and that by the city and that Flock never has access to it, which, as you know, directly contradicted the actual contract language. He also was asked directly by Adrian. He was asked directly if Flock uses AI, and he said no, which contradicted himself earlier in his presentation when he explained exactly how they use AI in their technology. Flock even claims to be endorsed by the ACLU, when in reality, the ACLU strongly recommends against Flock safety and similar surveillance technologies. Please let me be clear. This is not a case of a bad salesman. This is how Flock operates and how their employees are trained to present this technology. Many of these false claims are right there advertised on their website. If this company cannot be trusted to provide factual information about their products, why would we trust that they'll adhere to a new contract, especially when they know that you have no way of confirming whether or not they do? I understand and acknowledge that Flock is a tool that can make police work easier, similar to how pesticides are a tool that make farming easier. But in both of these cases, the harm that can be caused outweighs the benefit. Technology with this much potential for harm does not belong in the hands of Flock Safety or the billionaires who fund it. Technology with this much potential for harm does not belong in our communities, period. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jenna, and I'm a former resident of Clawson, and I appreciate being back here. Madam Mayor, council members, I'm asking you to vote no on renewing the Flock contract, just because the evidence doesn't support the need for it. First, there's no independent proof that Flock actually reduces crime. Cities nationwide have installed these cameras, yet audits and studies show no clear and sustained impact on crime trends. Renewing a system without demonstrated results is an irresponsible use of public funds. Second, the technology produces false positives, and those errors have led to innocent people being stopped or detained in other cities. A tool that introduces risk without proven benefit is a liability. Third, Flock is a known bad actor, and their business practices raise serious concerns. As a rapidly expanding for-profit surveillance company, Flock is known for aggressive sales tactics, overstated claims or outright lies of effectiveness, and a business model that depends on collecting and retaining massive amounts of community data. When a company's financial incentives are tied to expanding surveillance rather than demonstrating real safety outcomes, the city should be cautious about renewing long-term contracts. Fourth, The data sharing network is far broader than many residents realize. Once collected, the community's data can be accessed by or sold to hundreds of agencies across the country, which we're already seeing in the case of Flock. If we can't guarantee how the data is used and for how long, renewing is not defensible. Finally, the cost diverts resources from strategies that are actually proven to work, like community programs, staffing, and environmental improvements. Flock cannot show clear, independently verified results. Therefore, the logic choice is to pause and demand better. I urge you to vote no on renewal.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jackie, and I am a visitor here in Clawson. But I do have family who lives here, and I have spent many 4th of Julys here, enjoying the parade and the fireworks. And I am here again today to urge you not to renew a contract with Flock. No contract or legalese will protect us from the vulnerabilities and weaponization of this technology. Whether it's police using it to stalk women, Flock employees accessing gymnastics or pool cameras, or someone hacking it for their own purposes that we're unaware of, it is absolutely being used in ways that are not outlined in that contract. We haven't even scratched the surface in understanding how this technology is being used nefariously. If you vote no, you may not know of all of the ways that you have prevented this technology from being used against residents. But if you vote yes, you will continue to hear stories about how it is being used to hurt people. And you will have to worry and wonder if Clawson cameras are being used in the same way. It is so clear to me that you all genuinely care about your residents and want to protect them, and that's why technology like this appealed to you in the first place. But you think you're agreeing to a tool that will help keep your community safer, but in actuality, you're introducing a threat that that the community cannot even protect themselves from. The way to make your community safer is to vote no on Flock surveillance. Right here and right now. So many other communities across the country are doing that same exact thing. So please join Ferndale in setting the example here in Oakland County, and you will look back on it and be proud that you did. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eric. I am a resident of Clawson, and I would like to also request that you guys reject the Flock camera contract renewal. My speech here will not be nearly as eloquently put as the previous speakers, but I just wanted to pose to you guys a question that you can think of while we continue to talk here today. And for context, I work as an IT professional. I understand the myriad of different tools that this little device that each one of us carries every single day is already used to track us, whether that's, through the federal government, the NSA, and all those various actors. And, like mentioned, if I don't agree to that in the terms and contracts, in some way, shape, or form, I can choose to opt out. These cameras are being put in places where I'm just trying to go about my day and I'm being watched. Being in public, we know that, to an extent, no matter what we do, we are being seen by someone somewhere for the most part. And we accept that just by nature of being in public. But are you guys okay with being watched everywhere you go? Thank you.
All right. My name is Kurt Reber. I am not a resident of Clawson, but I am a resident of Oakland County. I am an IT and security practitioner. I have presented publicly on data security and physical security. I am also the president-elect of a security professionals organization in the state of Michigan called MISEC. I'm not here representing MISEC, but I say that to talk about my passion for information security and community. What I am here to talk about is Flock. Flock regularly makes misleading and contradictory claims about their policies and capabilities. They abuse the legal definition of what counts as personally identifiable information to imply what they collect is safe, when there have been hundreds, if not thousands, of instances of malicious insiders using that data to stalk and harass people just in 2025. There have been dozens of instances of innocent people being incorrectly picked up by Flock cameras and then repeatedly harassed or even arrested with no recourse for getting that data cleaned up. There's no practical way to do it, so these people have just been continually harassed, even if not in their own areas, in neighboring areas that also use Flock. I also consider it extremely concerning how they utilize their data, the contradictory statements they've said about how they use your data. They may say that you own it and you may legally own it, but if they have access to those encryption keys and it's on their servers, they can access it. They might use that for training. They've said yes, they've said no. We cannot truly know what they're doing with that based on their current statements. Flock has said that they have never been hacked. This is provably false based on publicly available research conducted by GainSec. When Flock got that data, they responded by minimizing the impacts, even making statements that contradicted themselves, saying that what was done was not considered an actual vulnerability or a hack because it didn't go abuse the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, while in the same exact statement saying that they illegally accessed the cameras. Whether or not those issues were fixed, which they never verified, the way that they handled dealing with those security researchers points to me to a company that would rather hide the truth just to extract money than care about true data integrity. The Electronic Frontier Foundation found multiple instances where people who were legally and peacefully using their right to protest were being tracked not only at protests, but around in general. The American Civil Liberties Union has found that cameras do not have any noticeable impact across multiple studies and cross-analyses, and all of Flock's data where they claim that these cameras are helpful, the data is not publicly available. No one can verify that. That sounds to me like asking cigarette companies to say how healthy their products were in the 50s. As a security practitioner, I see companies all the time who are selling snake oil, who use all sorts of underhanded tactics, fear, uncertainty, and doubt to sell their products, the same thing scammers do to short-circuit your brain and get your money. That's exactly the types of tactics I see in Flock, and that doesn't even begin to talk about the sorts of kickbacks they've been known to give local officials and the frivolous lawsuits that they've placed against people and organizations who have had issues with their actions. What I'm asking the council to do is to seriously think about why an organization like Flock might be more interested in using these sorts of underhanded tactics to take community money that could instead be used to support your constituents and actually help grow the local community, the economy, and help reduce crime, as opposed to having these cameras. Thank you.
Scott Manning, resident of Clawson. I'm going to speak on two items. One is Flock, and that is simply, I stated at a previous meeting my objection to extending that, and my view has not changed. I've had emails and websites hacked. I don't trust a company that's in that arena that says our stuff is all safe and that it disappears after 30 days. Once it's in the system, it's in the system. Even if you say it's deleted, it's never really all gone. And so I urge you to vote no on renewing Flock. When you say yes, we may have 4 cameras now, but how many more may show up? And even though they say we're only using it for certain things, the authority is already there to allow them to use other things without the council's actions. I urge you to vote no on that. The other item is on the selection of a new city council member. Just to state my support for Adam Duerstein. I know that I was disqualified for a water bill that is not in my name. It's a church water bill, and it was paid. But even so, I think Adam is equally or more qualified than I am, even to be considered for that position, and I urge you to support him for the new council seat.
Hi, Jamie Gills, Takanochi, Clausen resident. I'm here tonight to speak in strong opposition of the flock camera contract renewal. I want to be clear about what I think the issues are. Even with the changes that were negotiated by the city attorney, this still puts Clausen into a broader surveillance network that we do not control. Once that data leaves us, we do not have meaningful control over how it is used, shared, or accessed. We are being told this is safe because Flock says it does not share data with ICE. That's not the point. The point is that other agencies do have access, and once the data is in the system, it can be used in ways we do not control and did not intend. That risk is real, and it has already been played out elsewhere. There are also real public safety concerns that I do not think have been taken seriously enough. These systems are not perfect. They produce false positives, incorrect reads, outdated information, misidentifications. When that happens, it is not minor. It can result in a high-risk traffic stop where officers are approaching a vehicle with the assumption that it is stolen, and in some cases with their guns already drawn. This puts innocent people in real danger based on an error in a database. I also want to address the idea that without this system, Clausen somehow becomes a target for crime. I do not find that argument persuasive. It's not supported by evidence, and we should not be making decisions on made-up fear. At a more basic level, this system tracks movement. It records where people drive, when they drive there, and builds a history of that movement over time. That is true whether someone has done anything wrong or not. I do not think it's reasonable to normalize that level of tracking as a standard part of local government. And I think it's also important to be honest about the broader environment this operates in. Data sharing systems do not stay neatly contained. Once infrastructure like this exists, it can and does get used in ways that go beyond the original intent or the assurances that we are given. So the question in front of you is not whether this is convenient or whether it adds another tool. The question is whether we are comfortable accepting a system that reduces local control over data, introduces documented risk of misidentification, and expands surveillance of residents who are not suspected of anything. I'm not comfortable with that. And I don't think Clausen should be comfortable with that. And I don't think you should be comfortable with that. I urge you not to renew this contract.
Hi, my name is Dan. I'm visiting here from Ferndale this evening. I'm also here to speak against the Flock contract. I don't have a lot to say on this because so much from prior speakers has already been said that I've been thinking, and I echo everything that's been said so far. I just wanted to add a couple more points. So in Ferndale, where we got rid of Flock, yes, we found out months after it happened that our data had been shared with federal authorities against what was in our contract with them. So we know personally that our data here can be easily used in ways that are against what we set with them because Flock is not a trustworthy or reputable company. And I also want to talk about what happened in Evanston, Illinois with Flock, where they voted to get rid of Flock, but Flock continued to operate the cameras. They put the cameras back up. So we know for a fact Flock goes against what they say they're going to do, and even if you tell them to leave, they might not leave. So that's why I think it's imperative not only that you vote against this contract and get rid of Flock in here, but you make sure that they leave, because just telling them no is not enough. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Alex. I am a citizen or resident of Clawson. Unfortunately, I'm not an IT professional, but I did work a really bad marketing job that I saw a lot of parallels with the presentation that was given. 2 weeks ago, many members of this community shared concern about the use of flock cameras. Others were not from our city, but still came here about those same concerns. I believe there was a lot of good points that were made then and even more today. And the council, I believe that the council was receptive to all we had to say. And then Mr. Jalen Johnson spoke. There were many alarming things about his presentation. For instance, how we were not able to review the presentation before public comment. That may have been unintentional, but after hearing more about how Flock operates, I'm not so sure that's the case. I'm sure we're all familiar with the councils and commissions, but I want to speak on another definition of commission. A fee paid to an agent or employee for transacting a piece of business or performing a service. One of the worst jobs I ever had was working as an AT&T salesperson. I was basically convinced that I had to convince people that it was in their best interests to switch. That was a commission-based job, and boy, did it suck. I was told that there would be incentives like Visa gift cards given to people for switching. First, they convince the salesperson, and then the salesperson convinces you. I'm not sure everyone got those Visa gift cards, but I know my family, who I convinced to switch, sure didn't. What I'm trying to say is maybe Mr. Johnson believed everything in that presentation. Maybe he was able to ignore dozens of people in the audience finding every lie in the presentation's mere moments after we saw it for the first time. Maybe some of what was in that presentation was true at one point. That doesn't change the fact that this is still an agent or employee attempting to transact a piece of business or perform a service. Now, I can't confirm that there would be a fee paid out to Mr. Johnson if Clawson continues to maintain business with Flock, but I think it would be extremely naive not to consider that possibility. The fact of the matter is that Flock as a company, to put it plainly, sucks. Many people here raise valid concerns from a technical standpoint. I want to raise a concern from a transparency one. Once the Flock representatives leave a city like Clawson, they don't care about us. They got their business, they got their bag, and they're gone. There's a reason there are so many people here to say that we don't want this. And there's a reason why Flock has a bad reputation. They were, in my opinion, shady with their business approach in Clawson, and that makes me believe that they will be shady with how they handle our data as well. Again, they're here to sell you a product. We can just say no. I personally don't believe in this kind of technologies, but even if you do, are you sure that Flock is the solution? One last thing. I've looked into mass surveillance in preparing for tonight. There's a Wikipedia article, mass surveillance in China, mass surveillance in East Germany. There's one, mass surveillance in Russia. They have a very similar thing. It's like Camerton. So, license plate reading technology and bad names go hand in hand, apparently. Unfortunately, there's also one for the United States as well. Let's try not to add to it.
Hi, Clawson City Councilors, Mayor. My name is Simon Cohen, resident of Ferndale. I'm chair of a group called Citizens for Bad Ferndale. I think this ALPR stuff rocks. I love being tracked. I accept every cookie on every website, and I have sent my fingerprints and DNA to the police and multiple federal agencies before they've asked. I question those who haven't. What do you have to hide? This is the same question I ask my neighbors who keep closing the blinds on their bedroom window. What if there's a crime in there? While I'll already send my GPS tracking information to multiple federal agencies, I don't think my fellow citizens really care about public safety the way I do, and I think they need to be forced into it. Not me. When Ferndale introduced the cameras, crime fell. There's barely even petty theft. Since the Ferndale cameras were deactivated, there have been over 1,000 evil crimes. Now, I know those statements aren't true necessarily, and I did just make them up, but think about how convincing it would be if they were true. Think about this, Clawson. If you don't give up your location, your driving routes, and your privacy voluntarily, we can just take it from you. As Flock has previously pointed out, these companies can hire really good lawyers, and you can't. So don't even bother bringing up the law, because I'm very smart. The Flock representative, if they were here tonight, could even explain why it's actually a good thing that at least 14 police officers across the country have been caught using the technology to stalk romantic partners in the last 2 years alone. Who could resist? Lastly, a note about the ACLU, the Brennan Center, the Lucy Parsons Lab. Just because it's their literal jobs to study the stuff and they are part of groups who are geared towards protecting our rights doesn't give them the right to disagree with our police or our companies who profit off the prison industrial complex, who I'm sure have my best interests at heart. Who wouldn't pay for the privilege of having your car tracked through the metro area by a weapons and drone manufacturer? What else are you going to spend the money on? Public services? What's more public service, I ask? What's more American than allowing the Houston Police Department to access your driving history with the justification of, and here I quote one such Ferndale case verbatim, simply hamburger. Thank you.
Hello, I am Trenton Zor. I am a resident of Clawson. I am a special education teacher at Royal Oak High School. This morning, I found out that our learning platform called Canvas leaked data of thousands of students nationwide. This could be their names. This could be messages between their teachers that include potentially discussions about their disabilities that now could go public due to them leaking their data. Canvas was obviously trusted to protect our students' data, and they broke that trust by their incompetency. There is no telling that Flock will not do the same with the location data of all people throughout the United States as they travel and pass through intersections with these Flock cameras. Additionally, I do think it's important to note that the fact that Flock owns these cameras is not the only problem with the cameras. If the city of Clawson themselves created the cameras here in Clawson and had them on their own servers, it still would not be acceptable to have cameras on every street corner tracking where citizens are going. There is a reason that nationwide, our schools almost always have 1984 in their curriculum. Now, people have their criticisms of the author. But at the end of the day, one thing that everyone agrees on with that book is that Big Brother should not always be watching. And this is the start of a slippery slope of the government watching where cars are going, who is driving them, and what patterns they can follow. So I urge you to vote no on the Flock cameras and keep people's data safe and people's locations safe and our citizens safe. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Madeline Loss. I am not a citizen of Clawson, but I am of Troy and Oakland County. I would like to thank you for being here today and listening to what we have to say. I would like to speak on Flock. I would like to say that a series of investigative reports revealed that dozens of Flock's safety AI-powered surveillance cameras were left streaming live footage and administrator control panels for at least 60 of its AI-enabled Condor cameras around the country exposed to the open internet, where anyone could watch them, download 30 days worth of video archive, change settings, see log files, and run diagnostics. Unlike many of Flock's cameras, which are designed to capture license plates as people drive by, Flock's Condor cameras are pan-tilt-zoom cameras designed to record and track people, not just vehicles. Condor cameras can be set to automatically zoom in on people's faces as they walk through a parking lot, down a public street, or play on a playground. They can be controlled manually according to marketing material on Flock's website. In response to inquiries, Flock Safety characterized the incident as a limited misconfiguration affecting a small number of devices and stated that the problem had since been corrected. The company told reporters that the exposure was not the result of a hacking incident and that its cloud infrastructure had not been compromised. Flock declined to provide deeper technical details about the flaw or underlying causes of its exposures, which provide doubt for their story and for how they would handle public data. They did not say how many cameras were affected in total. In fact, Flock's website still proudly declares that they have no security breaches. Flock has made several significant changes to its contractual terms and conditions that appear to diminish cities' and towns' control over data and otherwise shift power from customers to the company. Current Flock customers, as well as those who are considering using Flock, should be aware of these contractual changes, look closely at them, and seek the advice of a counsel before they enter into or renew a contract with the company. Flock made at least 4 changes to its standard terms and conditions in the 7 months leading up to February 16th, 2026, which is where I've sourced this information, an article written that day. These changes include sale of data. Flock's previous terms and conditions stated flatly Flock does not own and shall not sell customer data. That language is now absent from their terms and conditions. Control over data. The new license, while granting formal legal ownership of data to the customer, grants the company the exclusive right to determine and control the method, timing, format, and medium of access to the data that supposedly belongs to the customer. I have been Flocked reports that Flock appears to be giving customers access not to raw footage, but to altered, degraded, low-resolution copies of that data, which also lack metadata such as timestamps, which can be important. That is a funny form of ownership. A perpetual license. The terms and conditions now add a perpetual right for Flock to use customer data to support and improve its services, allowing the company to keep using driver surveillance data even after a town, city, or other customer has terminated its relationship with Flock and no longer has access to that data itself, as in Flock can have access to our data when we are no longer able to. Flock's right to use such data would have no expiration date. So even now, there has been irreparable damage done to citizen privacy, but this is your chance to at least stop the progression of that damage. Liability termination and arbitration provisions. The new contract also expands Flock's protections against liability for willful misconduct or gross negligence, potentially shifting the costs of data breaches and other failures from the company to taxpayers. It also dismantles private arbitration under Georgia law when there is a contract dispute and makes it harder for customers to terminate Flock contracts, including, as somebody else said, when a town or city council votes not to approve or fails to appropriate the funds for it, as nearly 50 cities have done in the past year alone. I would also like to bring something related to the table. I went to an anti-ICE protest at the Southfield Redico building organized by people of predominantly Jewish faith.
That's your time.
Sorry, thank you.
Hi, my name is Elena Mosher. I am not a resident of Clawson, but I am of Oakland County. I urge you guys to vote no on any contract making or renewal or anything to do with Flock. I want to tell you guys something a little personal that I haven't actually told many people. When I was 11, we found out that I had actually been stalked by a grown man for who knows how many years. Now, that man is now in jail and the situation is taken care of. But going through what I did and having the fear that I had, having that happen at such a young age, I still cannot imagine how horrifying it has been for the women that have been victimized by police officers using Flock cameras that they have full access with a search engine to stalk women in their life. There have been 14 cases since Flock started working with police, and that's only been a couple years. Michigan started their contract in 2023. I want to read something to you guys. List of known ALPR romantic stalking cases. Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, in 2021, Officer Michael McSherry pleaded guilty to stalking charges after using readers to track his estranged wife and other family members. Ketchy, Kansas, 2023, Ketchy Lieutenant Victor Hayer pleaded guilty to computer crime and stalking after using Flock cameras to track his estranged wife. Sedgwick, Kansas, 2023. Police Chief Lee Nygaard resigned after using Flock cameras to track his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend more than 200 times over several months. Costa Mesa, California, 2023. Officer Robert Josette used a Flock camera system to track his mistress and her other romantic interests. Josette pleaded guilty to multiple criminal charges in April of 2026. Riverside County, California, 2024. After being arrested for kidnapping his ex-fiancée, Deputy Alexander Vanny allegedly used the department's Flock system to track one of her friends. In December 2025, he was convicted of multiple charges in a jury trial. Orange City, Florida, 2024. Officer Jamaris Brown allegedly used ALPRs to stalk his girlfriend and her family members more than 100 times over 7 months. Brown was arrested and charged in 2025. Shelby County, Tennessee, 2024. Deputy Thaddeus Gordon was relieved of duty after allegedly using an ALPR database to track his ex-wife's location more than 100 times. Louisville, Kentucky, 2025. Officer Roberto Cedino was charged with multiple felonies after allegedly using the city's ALPR system to track an ex-partner and her friends hundreds of times over 2 months. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 2025. Officer Josu Ayala allegedly used the department's network of Flock ALPRs to track a woman he was dating and her ex-partner nearly 180 times over a 2-month period. Ayala resigned in 2026 after being charged with misconduct in public office. Now, there are a lot more I can read from as well. There are 14 cases in all. I urge you to vote against any surveillance system that gives any one person access to follow anybody they want at all times, regardless of crimes they've committed, regardless of any suspicion whatsoever. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Kelly Harlan. I am a resident of Clawson, and I'm here tonight to speak in opposition to the Flock camera contract. So I was here for the last meeting where you all voted to postpone the renewal of the contract until that contract could be renegotiated. At that meeting, a Flock representative gave a presentation that I was thoroughly unimpressed with. As I sat through that presentation in the audience, all it took was just taking out my phone, researching the claims he made, and they were all demonstrably either false or only technically true because of slimy semantics by Flock's legal team. And maybe that's why the presentation wasn't provided for your review before that meeting. I'm no tech expert, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'll leave the technicalities for those to other better equipped people. But what I do feel equipped to comment on are data and ethics. Automatic license plate readers are painted to be a practical solution to catch criminals, but if we're thinking practically, let's follow that thread all the way through. I hold a master's in public health data analytics, so I want to begin by talking about data. I don't want to lose you. Sometimes people's eyes glaze over when I say that. So, reputable data helps us make informed, responsible decisions. What makes data reputable is systemic, rigorous collection processes in thoughtfully designed studies and controlled environments. Anecdotal evidence, on the other hand, makes sweeping generalizations based on individual experiences or isolated examples, isolated either in physical place or time. This is not reputable data and therefore cannot inform a responsible decision. This has big implications in analyzing the effectiveness of Flock cameras. While we may be able to easily debunk Flock's data claims, I want to address the anecdotal evidence we often hear in support of Flock. The absence of longitudinal or long-term studies on the impact of ALPRs mean that we are only seeing a snapshot in time. We're not seeing confounding factors. We're not seeing downstream effects, just a snapshot in time. Therefore, anything that we can observe about ALPRs so far is inherently anecdotal. We just haven't had enough time, enough public awareness of these to really see what the effects are going to be. I also want to call attention to the issues of data handling. While Flock may be able to legally claim that our police department has ownership of the data collected from the cameras, that ultimately means nothing when the servers that the data is stored on is not owned by our police. Do we trust every data engineer working on the servers to be competent, capable, and ethical all the time? Do you trust a company that sent a representative to sell you bold-faced lies in their last presentation? I sure don't. In following this thread of practicality of Flock cameras in policing, consider what will happen over time. Public awareness of these cameras will increase, and as it does, criminals will do what they've always done. They will adapt. the police's tried and true methods of preventing crimes, catching perpetrators, and being an overall effective force will suddenly become obsolete. So what then? Are we going to call for surveillance in every home? What does that mean for our police force and for their job security? Most importantly, I want to talk about the overall ethics of this level of surveillance. I find it astounding that the people who are being surveilled, whose data is being collected and sold to an untrustworthy company, get no say in whether or not this happens. We can't just avoid the ALPRs. The majority of the public is screaming, "I do not consent to this." But what good is that if we don't get a vote on it? I urge you to stand up for democracy and vote
Ma'am,
no.
that's your time.
Hi there, my name is Jacob. I'm an IT professional and Clawson resident. I just wanted to go over a few things that I think we keep kind of the common denominators with this problem. So we want our mothers to feel safe. We want our children to feel safe. We want some sort of solution for that. But it's not flock or nothing. There are a lot of other solutions we can evaluate. And when I run these types of proof of concepts and these technologies, there's a rigorous vetting process that has to go on. Data privacy, data governance, working with the people that this is supposed to be for and evaluating whether or not the solution actually meets the needs or if we've just gone astray. And there's this sort of sunk cost fallacy. Well, we already have the cameras up. They worked a few times, and that's nice. But at the end of the day, I don't think that we've done thorough enough vetting to even consider flock as a solution. And I know in the last meeting it was said, well, this is a Clawson problem and a Clawson solution, so why should we care about the larger data implications and things like that? We're just trying to get some license plate readers in town. Well, Flock has proven themselves time and time again to be an untrustworthy company, and we've touched on this again and again and again here. But even in that presentation, a lot of the semantics were, as we just talked about, hyper-specific. So we're referencing LPRs are not collecting user data. Well, that doesn't apply to Flock itself, or they're saying they're not selling data. Well, they are still able to share it. Or it's only your data. Well, they still have access to it. And we touched on this last meeting, and someone brought it up before, but we've seen a case in Georgia, I forget the name of the town, this was April 13th of 2026, where through a FOIA request, it was revealed that Flock executives had been accessing the cameras, the security cameras in a Jewish community center to access the classrooms, the pools, and the gymnastics, little girls' gymnastics, numerous times. And I know this isn't a back and forth, but are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with a company like that being in our town, being a part of the system that they're building? And moreover, we have, and I brought this up again in the last meeting, but we've seen that they say, oh, well, we have that feature turned off to share with ICE or CBS, or we have that feature turned off to search for reproductive related cases. But it's up to them. It's up to administrators. It's up to their word. And I don't think that we can trust their word given time and time again. I know it's not on the chief or that we're saying anything against the Clawson PD. It's just this larger problem of it's not our data. It's not in City Hall over there in a server room. We can unplug if there's a data breach. This is stored in Amazon Web Services up in the cloud. We can't control who has access to those databases. And some independent researchers have already shown that they were able to compromise Flock systems within about 30 seconds. To gain admin access to their systems on individual cameras. We've seen independent researchers find bulk sales of Flock admin accounts on Russian black markets as well as the deep web. So again, this just does not seem like a thoroughly vetted or trustworthy company that we can really trust in our town. And to play the devil's advocate, and I know this isn't a back and forth, but have we evaluated other systems? Have we looked at something that's purely local storage? Have we done any other proof of concepts? Because it kind of feels like we're just running up against this thing where it's Flock or nothing. It's Flock or nothing.
That's your time. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ben. Excuse me. Hi, my name is Ben Bonnen. I'm a resident of Clawson. I am also something of a tech expert. I have a degree in computer science from Michigan State University, and I've worked as a software engineer for over a decade. And I'd like to go over some of the false statements made at the last meeting on April 21st. Number one, Flock does store the data gathered by their cameras, not Amazon Web Services. That's just the tool they use to do it. AWS is like a subscription to a hard drive. We have no direct access to the servers that it's stored on. The contract, oh, excuse me, I lost my place. Saying that AWS stores the data is like me saying that Dell stores my family photos because they manufactured my computer. I'd just like to chalk this up to the presenter's lack of understanding of Flock's technology, but nonetheless, he was successful in derailing the conversation around data ownership with this statement. We do not, which brings me to number two, we do not own the data in an ordinarily understood sense of the word. Flock stores and manages the data. We don't have access to the servers that it's stored on. That would be different, like the man before me said, if we were storing it locally, say in this building, managed by our city, our police department. The contract that they tried to get you to sign also allowed them to keep the data forever and used broad language that would allow them to use it practically any way they saw fit. This agreement is akin to giving your money to a bank that doesn't allow you to withdraw your money. Thanks to the city attorney, we did make small improvements to the contract language. Now, when our contract ends, the contract states they have to delete our data. Unfortunately, we don't have access to the servers, so we have no way of telling if they've done this because we have no access. This goes doubly for their claimed policy of deleting data after 30 days. If you know anything about data, it's very sticky and it's very hard to delete. Getting rid of it is sort of a technical thing to overcome. Now, number three, license plates are actually personally identifying information. Y'all spotted this. It was easy to tell because the presenter had to use the tortured euphemism of public government issued document. That was a mouthful to describe license plates. They're obviously a form of personal identification. If they weren't an ID, we wouldn't use them. What's more is license plates are actually very easily related to a name even without accessing registration databases. I can go outside tonight and get every one of your license plate numbers. Lastly, this wasn't a lie, and it wasn't said by the Flock representative, but it was a very alarming statement. Chief Boss admitted that for the first year.
I'm sorry, sir, that's your time.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dia. I'm a visitor to Clawson. I'm actually coming from Ferndale. I'm here because I believe in the previous city council meeting, I heard mentioned that all of Ferndale's concerns with Flock had been addressed. And that to me felt like maybe a little bit of a misrepresentation about where things in the city of Ferndale ended with Flock. I think that may be some people's perspective in the city, but I don't think that is the perspective of city council nor the majority of Ferndale residents. For some history, I think some of this has already been mentioned, so I will gloss over that. But in September of last year, Ferndale City Council found that numerous federal agencies had been able to pull from Ferndale's Flock data without the city's knowledge, without the police department's knowledge. This was due to a terms of service change and the addition of a national search feature, which Ferndale was opted into without City Council's knowledge. This had happened on City Council's watch, and they had only found out 4 months after the fact. So, okay, great. So coming out of this meeting, Ferndale opts out of the national search. No problem, right? This led Ferndale City Council members to dig into how could this terms of service change have happened without our knowledge? How could we be opted into this without our knowledge, without our control? And how could we be protected against future terms of service changes? And ultimately, Flock's contract has a phrase that allows Flock to make platform changes at will to increase its competitiveness. There was some discussion of a process for detailed legal review for terms of service changes by the city, but as I think was previously mentioned, Flock seems to make these changes at a pace where that becomes administratively unfeasible. So last summer, when they roll out this national search feature, same time that Ferndale finds out about it, Flock gets in trouble with the state of Illinois for sharing data with the federal government. And they say, okay, we fixed it. We no longer allow people to make searches based on immigration or reproductive rights. Some Ferndale residents and city council members raised the question, okay, what is an acceptable search? How detailed does the rationale need to be? What keeps someone from just lying? As it turns out, and actually this past month, the Ferndale City Council member posted some outcomes from an access audit they did of their Flock contract. Acceptable search terms included about 250 uses of the word work, 300 uses of the word investigation, and 1 use of the search rationale hamburger. The city of Clawson is generating all this data, and ultimately, you're not going to be able to control it. You're not going to be able to control who accesses it. Flock says they can control who accesses it, but as people have mentioned with data breaches in Flock, they can't control it either. Ferndale rightfully took this full network access audit into account when deciding whether to renew their contract with Flock, and based on those audit results, I think that was a key piece in Ferndale deciding the trial was a failure. So I just want to raise that, and that network access audit, I suspect you would see similar things here at Clawson. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle. I'll start with a simple thank you. I applaud you for your vote to cancel Flock contract. It was a principled move to protect your small town autonomy, and for that you deserve kudos. But here we are today because of the pressure to renegotiate is coming from a pincher movement of outside forces that want to strip us of our right to self-govern. Our police department warns that without these cameras, Clawson will become a crime capital. They've cited the need for stolen vehicles. They've called this a force multiplier needed to catch the stolen vehicles. But if we look at the actual numbers, last year there were only 3 stolen cars in Clawson. 3. Does catching 3 cars justify a 24/7 digital dragnet on 21,000 neighbors? We are being asked to trade our fundamental right to be left alone for a solution to a problem that barely exists. If you want to know the true intent of this technology, let's look at Waterford. There, the conversation isn't just about license plates, it's about predictive policing and crowd control. When you move to finding a stolen car to predictive behavior or managing groups of citizens, you've crossed a line from public safety into public management. This is exactly why law enforcement official recently bragged. You can't get a breath of fresh air without us knowing. That isn't policing, that's an occupation of our privacy. This is a part of a larger trend of pulling up the ladder on a local authority. From the top, federal directives like the NSPM 7 are expanding surveillance criteria into civil disorder and domestic monitoring. Turning local police into data collectors for a federal dragnet. From the state, a package of Michigan House bills is designed to preempt local zoning, stripping councils of their power to decide the density and character of our own neighborhoods. When the federal government dictates your policing and the state dictates your zoning, what is left to the council's power? And who profits? Flock Safety. Their contract requires a worldwide, perpetual, royalty-free license to our data, even after the term hereof. Perpetual means forever. We are paying them with our tax dollars to harvest our movements as their product. All the while, people are met with a $2,200 paywall just to see the truth of these contracts through FOIA. Council, we see the conflict at the county level. when we see officials like Dave Woodward accepting trips to Flock's headquarters on the company dime and failing to disclose it before his vote. We deserve transparency, not curated sales pitches. I leave you with Benjamin Franklin's warning. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety, and we're paying for it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, council member, Stephen Traxel, 381 Lincoln, Clawson, Michigan, longtime citizen here of Clawson. Appreciate the words that everyone has spoken so far. I do understand that many of the people that are telling you not to vote for it don't actually live in the city of Clawson. There's nothing wrong with that. That's their right to come and tell you what they think about what should happen in this city. But we are Clawson, and you folks are going to vote for what happens here in Clawson. I have been a citizen here for many years. About 6 or 7 years ago, I did come on as the chaplain of the police department, and we can give statistics. We can talk about the good, the bad, the ugly of all these things. And again, privacy does matter. I'm not about just giving away my privacy for anything. Anywhere you go, as they already said, the phones track you. Every little thing you do tracks you. However, it would behoove everyone that's against it to actually work with people that actually use it. I can tell you how bad it is, but until you actually work with the people that actually use it as a tool, our officers, it's a wonderful thing. I've seen it in action. I've seen how it's been used, and we hire our officers to watch over us, protect us. And because I've been in the automobile with the officer when they use it, I can tell you it's more than just trying to find stolen vehicles. It's also for people with mental health, those that don't know where they're at. They get in their car, they drive away, and they don't know where dad's at. But thankfully, this tool has allowed them to find their father. So I would say that before we write off Flock, I would say it's actually a good thing to have. I would talk to our officers, the people that we trust, and thankfully, Clawson's a small town, and I think we trust the people, the men and women that work in this town to do the right thing. There had made mention about the people that misuse it. The 14 accounts. I'm sorry for the lady that was it was abused for her as a kid, 11 years old. That's a terrible thing. But I would say of the hundreds of thousands of uses that is used every single day, the small amount that's been misused, of course, that's what anything can be misused. But for the hundreds of thousands of searches, I think we could look at the flip side and say, so many people would say, I'm so thankful that they had this technology to be used to help my father, mother, or whatever it is. But I think it's imperative. I think we should continue to keep the Flock system. I've seen it in action. I know it works. And anyone that doesn't know how it works or hasn't seen it in action, I would suggest maybe get with an officer and ride around with them for a day and see how much this helps them serve our city. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to items on the agenda? Oh, okay, one more.
Mayor and City Council. My name's Bob White. I'm a visitor of Clawson. I own a business, Clawson Auto Sales on 14 Mile Road. I strongly suggest we need the cameras. I've had we had a couple cars stolen where the officers were able to get the cars back quick. We were broken into one time. And the crime here in Clawson's very little. But if we can help the officers, all the people here in Clawson, I'm all for it. And we're being tracked, just like the gentleman just talked. We've been tracked by our phones. We've been tracked by everything. Anybody can find out any information. But I strongly suggest let's help the police. They're wonderful. They know what they're doing. We trust them. Thank you.
All right, one more time. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to items on the agenda? Seeing no one else move, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment for items on the agenda. Our next item on the agenda is proclamations and presentations. As we've done in the past for each of our proclamations, because they have all the council signatures, I'm going to ask for a motion for the first proclamation which is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion for the proclamation of Mental Health Awareness Month as presented.
Support. And we'll do read it first, a roll call for Mr. Dushai. I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's go ahead and have a roll call for that, and then Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke will read that for us. If it passes.
Councilmember Pelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yes.
All right, having passed, having the council having had passed the Mental Health Awareness Proclamation, I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke to please read that for us.
Of course. Whereas mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, it affects how we think, feel, and act. It also affects how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. And whereas mental health is important for our individual well-being and vitality, as well as that of our families, communities, and businesses. And whereas nearly 1 in 5 American adults experience a diagnosable mental health condition in any given year, and anxiety disorders, the most common mental health condition in the United States, affect tens of millions of adults annually. And whereas May 1 through May 31st, 2026 is recognized as Mental Health Awareness Month. And whereas Mental Health America, MHA, has designated the 2026 theme as More Good Days Together, emphasizing the importance of community coming together in support and encouragement, empowering individuals to share their stories, and fostering improved mental health both individually and collectively. And whereas Oakland Community Health Network, OCHN, with the support of the City of Clawson, joins national partners in promoting this year's More Good Day Together campaign. Whereas supporting mental health within our community helps ensure that all individuals feel valued, connected, and empowered to live, work, learn, and fully participate in community life, and by fostering a culture of compassion, understanding, and shared responsibility, we promote diversity, inclusion, and acceptance for all. And whereas, in a time when communities are navigating heightened social and economic pressures, growing demand for services, and ongoing conversations about access, equity, and trust in public systems, strengthening coordinated systems of care for vulnerable populations, expanding access to both non-emergent and crisis services, advancing the integration of physical and behavioral health care, and fostering strong provider partnerships all serve to reinforce and sustain the essential services coordinated by Oakland Community Health Network. And whereas, with the support of the City of Clawson, OCHN, and its service provider agencies are committed to inspiring hope, empowering people, and strengthening communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Oakland Community Health Network, with the support of the City of Clawson, hereby recognizes May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month and calls upon all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, faith-based organizations, and schools to recommit to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, reducing stigma, and ensuring access to appropriate and inclusive mental health services for all, in pursuit of recovery and improved quality of life.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have another proclamation, and this is for the 57th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week for May 3rd through the 9th of 2026.
Do we vote on that one?
We need another motion, please.
Sure. Madam Mayor, I make a motion for the proclamation of the 57th Annual Professional Municipal Clerk Week be as presented.
Support.
Excellent. If we could have roll call on that, please.
Councilmember Slawinski, Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke, Councilmember Pelton.
All right, we have just approved our proclamation declaring May 3rd through the 9th as the Professional Clerks Week, and I again am going to ask Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke to read that proclamation for us.
Of course. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is an established, essential part of local government, quietly helping communities function smoothly every day. And whereas municipal clerks serve as a trusted connection between residents, elected officials, and agencies at all levels of government. And whereas they are committed to neutrality and fairness, ensuring that every resident receives equal access to information and services. And whereas municipal clerks are often the trusted resource for questions about how local government works, helping residents stay informed and engaged in their community. And whereas they continually pursue professional development through education, training, and collaboration to better serve their communities. And whereas it is fitting to recognize and appreciate the dedication, professionalism, and often unrecognized impact of municipal clerks. Now, therefore, you, Susan Moffett, Mayor of the City of Clawson, do hereby recognize the week of May 3rd through May 9th, 2026, as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and extend sincere appreciation to our municipal clerk, Michelle Kukuk, and to all municipal clerks for their vital service and commitment to the communities they serve.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke, and thank you, Michelle. I always say your name wrong. Michelle, period, the city clerk. Thank you so much. All right, next up, we have the presentation on on-street overnight parking, the overnight parking solution by the City of Berkeley staff. Mr. Riker is,
Chief
I was just going, okay, Chief Bowles got it, all right, sorry.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. In fall of 2025.
Do you want to go ahead and pull that, sorry.
In fall of 2025, residents requested that the City of Clawson evaluate solutions for residential overnight parking. Many of the homes in Clawson were built with narrow or short driveways, which does not allow for several vehicles to be parked overnight. Growing families oftentimes have several drivers and several vehicles. The City of Clawson ordinance prohibiting parking on the street between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. poses a problem for these residents. Last fall, I learned that the City of Berkeley has a similar situation, and they put together a solution for their community, and they've been kind enough to come this evening. So I would like to introduce you to Berkeley Lieutenant Kobernick and Community Development Director Kristen Kaplonsky, who will give you a short presentation.
Good evening, council members. My name is Kristen. I'm the Community Development Director in Berkeley, and we are here to just give you an overview of what we did to address the problem that we had with on-street overnight parking. If you could go to the next slide, please. So we had a group of staff members that met, and we first tried to identify the goals of what we wanted to get out of this particular program. And Lieutenant Kopernik's going to kind of go into what initiated this initial group meeting, but I want to tell you what we came up with in terms of goals. Parking's prohibited right now on our streets between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Originally, it was 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., so we made a slight adjustment there. And our community was telling us, and our public safety department was telling us, we want that. We like it. We feel like it keeps the community safer. So we went into it assuming that we would continue to prohibit that. We also wanted to reduce the number of cars on the street during that time, the 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. time frame. Prior to initiating all of the things that we did as part of this program, public safety had done a number of counts so that we knew where we were starting from with the number of cars on the street. We wanted to provide an outlet for residents who could not fit all of their vehicles on the property. There was a woman during public comment who talked about a situation with several teenage drivers. We've run into that situation over and over. If you could go back to the other slide, please. We've run into that situation over and over, but we also have instances where people have a corner lot and they have a short driveway, and you can't even park one car in without blocking the sidewalk. So there are other situations that we had run into where residents could not park in their driveway. We wanted to allow for greater enforcement of things like blocking the sidewalk and cars parked in the street, because our public safety officers were in a situation where people said, I don't know what to do. I can't put all these cars in the driveway. And then lastly, we have municipal parking lots just like you do here, and they're underfunded in terms of maintenance. So we wanted to make sure we were beginning to establish a maintenance fund for those municipal parking spaces. And now I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Kopernik to talk about the public safety angle.
Good evening, everybody. So where this started, I've been there 18 years, and the previous procedure was a resident would come in to the front desk, leave their home, come to the front desk, and get a physical pass. That physical pass was two-part on carbon paper We were probably the last people to use carbon paper in Oakland County. We just figured there was a better way. And just started looking at data and working with Kristen. Our cities are similar. There's very similar parallels there. And in 1960, I have written down, I'll probably butcher it, but it was families with 3 or more cars was around 2.5%. 2023, it's 27%. So, and we talked about it the other day at the meeting as well. We have a car problem. We don't have really a parking problem. And we don't want residents to leave our community because now they have teenagers. And generally speaking, these are temporary problems. Your high schooler starts driving, they go to college, it's a 5-year problem, they move out, and the cycle continues. So we wanted to address that. We live in the community, and it was important to us, and that's what we were getting feedback on from residents. So the citations since I started, and since I can remember, were $10. So really, it became a nuisance citation, and it was like, am I going to get a ticket tonight if I leave my car on the street? It wasn't a true deterrence. It wasn't worth going to the police station at $10 for that. So we looked at, and we'll talk about it later also, but the fee also increased with it. But we, again, in 2025, we did it. There's better ways, like the internet, to get these passes done. Questions came up, well, is every night? No, we can restrict them to, in Berkeley, restrict to 15 per year per plate. So it's not by the residents, it's by the plate. So if you have a visitor come into town, it doesn't go against your household, right? Because it's by plate. I can barely see that. I got everything? All right. Thank you. Should have glasses.
So this is just a brief overview of the items that council put in place. We adopted this policy in August of 2024. It allows for on-street parking, as Lieutenant Kopernik said, between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. with a purchase, so that's our annual pass, or the temporary pass. And it was important to make it per plate, so that if you did have visitors and they stayed for an extended period, there were some situations where people talked about in-laws visiting, then you could get your car, you could have your car on the street and use those 15 passes.
I didn't mention, that is free.
Yeah,
The
that's
temporary
important.
ones are free.
And then you could switch cars and you'd have additional time for that. The annual pass is $400. It was recently prorated to $200 after May 31st, and that was based on resident feedback after our first year of operation. Council was concerned with the number of annual passes that would be issued, so they did put a hardship test in place. The hardship test lists 5 or 6 different standards. It's reviewed by public safety. Most people's hardship is that they have more vehicles than they have room in their driveway, and that's by affidavit that they're submitting that. Other ones are the corner lot issue that I mentioned. We have a couple houses that have no driveway at all, so that's a hardship, obviously. And then there's some other more minor ones. As I mentioned before, the revenue is used to start our parking maintenance fund and run the program. What was the cost of the temporary software?
$1,000.
It's only $1,000 for that, so we were able to pay for the software out of that. The fee raised from $10 to $50 is an important component too. And then if you're interested, we recently expanded this to municipal lots, but for businesses adjacent to municipal lots only. And one of the most important things of all of this is that it all fit together like a puzzle. So I don't think any one of these things would have worked. They all had to happen at the same time in order to work together. Okay. In our first 13 months of operation, we issued 30 annual passes, so not a significant number. I think we might be up a few more this year. We might be up to 35.
It's low 30s.
It's low 30s. We raised $5,200 for our parking maintenance fund, so that's not going to buy you a new parking lot, but it is going to pay for a little bit of parking maintenance. And then our vehicles parked on the streets between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. based on counts done throughout the year are down 37%.
So this is the software, and I'm not here to sell software. I'm not going down that. This is the one company that does do it. In my research, I was not able to find a different way. We talked about spreadsheets. We talked about Google Docs. We talked about a lot of different things. We're not software people. This does it. It's somewhat customizable. It's not perfect by any means, but you can obviously get whatever ordinance you come up with, you can put language on the front of that so they are agreeing to it when they sign for it. The next slide. So this is the back end, what an officer would see when they're out at night. It's just basic information. It's gonna be their plate and their address. You can require, I believe, an email, but I don't think you can require a phone number. The nice part about an email is if you have a snow emergency or if you need to make a bulk notification, it can go right into Excel and you can grab all that file right there and cast that out. Also for the officers at night, they can put that into Excel and sort it by street. So when they're going on the street, they know exactly what cars they're looking for. And it has some features where it can go to a darker screen so it doesn't blind you in the middle of the night. We've gotten really positive feedback from our staff, so it's worked really well.
And from our residents too. We really haven't had any complaints. We haven't run into any issues at all. And that's a good point about the snow emergency. That's something that we are able to use, and that has not been an issue with having cars parked in the snow emergency anymore than it had been in the past. This year, we're working to designate one of our municipal lots for those that have annual passes, that they can use that during a snow emergency, and then that would be the last lot plowed.
You could also go, if you're anticipating a snow emergency the next day, you can click the button and it'll refuse entries. But you're still gonna have, if you have carryover where they can, they're allowed to do 3 nights in a row, you still might wanna grab that data and just throw them an email so they know it's a snow emergency. So. Pretty simplistic pass, just numbered. Part of kind of looking this from the police officer perspective is when you're driving around at night, I thought reflective would be helpful, so it's kind of like a license plate tab. I think it's $7 a piece.
Yeah.
So it's reflective, and basically every year we change the color. So calendar year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
By calendar year, we change the color. So when officers driving down the street at night with headlights on, hanging from the mirror, they can see it. It's their first indication there's a pass there.
We're happy to answer
We're
any
really
questions.
here for you guys, really the questions you guys have.
So I have a couple questions, then I'll open it up to the council members. My first question would be, like, shortening the time to 5 o'clock instead of, what was the thought process behind that, and what was, yeah.
So working years of midnights, you'd roll around and there'd be a car in the street and you're half asleep and you go to write this car a ticket and somebody's walking out because they're moving their kid's car because they have to go to work, so they moved that car. So it's really to not inconvenience our residents who are leaving to go to work before 6 a.m. because it used to be 6 a.m.
So that was the biggest thing. And then I had another question, but I can't think of what it is right now. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the council. Councilmember Tinlin.
You know, I always have questions, but simple ones too. So did the council put a cap on the amount of annual passes you could do as a community?
No, they did not put a cap on it. They decided to see how the first year rolled out and how many passes we got. Since we only got the 30-ish passes, they felt that they didn't need to explore a cap any further.
Okay, that was.
I can tell you they were very concerned about the amount of passes. And like Kristen said, we ended up with 30 passes. Rightfully so, they were concerned. And I think part of that was the price, where the price went as well. But we've ended up, like I said, with 30 passes, and we're in 32-ish this year.
Okay. That was my only question, really.
Councilmember Spishak.
That was actually my only question. But I'd like to point out, I grew up in Berkeley, so I had 3 siblings and 2 parents, so 5 cars altogether, and it was very difficult when we were younger. And the $10 ticket, I agree with you, was very easy to just pay and move on compared to going up to the city hall. So I appreciate it.
Councilmember Zawinski.
I don't have any questions. It looks like it's pretty straightforward and very well thought out. I was kind of surprised just 30 people wanted to get the passes, so that wasn't really a high number. So that was nice to see. But I don't have any questions, but thank you for sharing your information with us.
So coming back around, I remember my other question. One of the things that I think that we struggle with in Clawson is we have a lot of streets where there's no parking on one side of the street. And I guess as we've looked at this proposal, I've always questioned, like, what we do if someone lives on that street with, there's only parking on one side and you don't want them taking the parking spots in front of other people's houses and that sort of thing. Do you have that, or how did you address that type of an issue?
Of course we have it. That's the typical, it's in front of my house, it's my parking spot, and we
right.
deal with it all the time. No, our stance in the city is firm that it's a public street and it's open to anybody who parks there first. We have not seen that issue. Again, with 30 spread out throughout the city, we just haven't seen the issue. We have obviously Catalpa where there's no parking along Catalpa, so some of the side streets, the feeder streets, will issue for the address, but they'll end up parking on those feeder streets because they can't park on Catalpa.
So if they like that, their house proper is on the side of the street where you can't park, then they could park in proximity to the house is the rule. Okay, cool, interesting. All right, now we'll go over to Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yes, well, thank you for taking your time out of your evening to come inform us on this. Just a couple of questions. And I don't think you're probably, like, I'm looking at safeguards, but with only 30, you're probably not having any issues. But do you limit how many, on a certain street, do you have a limit on how many passes for that one, like, block on that street?
No.
Okay. Yeah, and I was assuming with 30, you're not having any problems with that.
And that would be captured in the review process. I mean, it's something I'm looking at. I'm looking at the Google Street View and is it necessary? Are they attesting to the correct things? But if we notice an influx of the street, that was going to be totally, we would have to look at that.
Okay. And then have you seen anything where, like, somebody's got an RV or something and they want to park it on the street all the time, or a trailer, they detached from an actual vehicle? Have you seen anything like that?
So as part of the approved parking policy, we actually put a limit on, I think it was the tonnage of the vehicle.
So a commercial vehicle, and again, no quote me on any of this,
Yeah.
is defined by 26,000 pounds. So basically, if you bring a work truck home, you would then have to park that in your driveway and put your personal car in the street. So you could register your personal car and the work car would have to go in the street.
Okay.
Smart.
And recreational vehicles are treated separately under the zoning ordinance.
Okay, so you guys have already
And a
looked at
trailer
that.
would have to be attached to a vehicle.
Okay.
That's in the ordinance as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Councilmember Belton and
Yes, so I'd been actually talking to our resident who brought this up, and so I really appreciate you guys coming in to kind of explain it a bit. Do you know about approximately how many, because you said you gave about 30 out, how many houses you guys have in general? Like,
I think it's around 6,000.
So, yeah, very small percentage. But one thing that I really jumped out at me is the hardship test. So that was a key feature or a key thing because, so do you know some of the things that you have qualified on the hardship test? Like what?
So to give you just an overview of the process, they submit their application to community development. It's then routed over to public safety for their review, and public safety reviews the hardship. It is listed as the corner lot. I believe there's a hardship for persons with disabilities. What else is on there?
Under an 8 foot, but that's
Oh.
part of disabilities, 8 foot driveway.
Yeah, some of our driveways are less than 8 feet, or there are some houses, we have a couple alleys that have been converted to streets that have no driveway at all. So that is a hardship as well if you have no driveway. But the one that we run into most often is the applicant attesting to the fact that they have more vehicles.
Right.
So, and defer to the city attorney, but I mean, if that became an issue, there's language in there that, again, if it became a problem, it could be addressed.
Right.
Through that, it's in the ordinance.
Okay, because it's not more that 30 people didn't want them, it's that they wouldn't really qualify.
There haven't been that many turned down.
No, I think again, I think that's obviously above my pay grade, but the cost of the pass has to fit that right balance of, is it worth the cost versus staying in the city and having somewhere to park versus the citations, right? So like Kristen touched on, all of these moving parts move together. By raising the ticket fee, it said, okay, I really am gonna go get up in my car, it's not $10 anymore. But it's that balance of where we were lower as a group internally of what we thought that pass should cost, and council raised it. Again, that's above my pay grade where the cost came in, but it's working in terms of the numbers. I think if somebody's truly in need, it's there for them. It's far cheaper than getting tickets every night.
And one thing I want to add is we changed the ordinance to refer to an adopted parking policy so that we could be more nimble if we needed to make changes. Council adopts the policy, but we don't have to go through the whole process of amending the ordinance each time. It can be adopted in one meeting and be effective immediately.
Can you clarify that? So you,
Yeah, so we, in the city code, we made reference to the parking policy to be adopted by council, and then they adopted the policy as a separate document. So if they want to change the policy, they just have to change the policy. They don't have to change the ordinance each time. We also have a staff group that started this, that meets quarterly to review any and everything related to parking, because it seems to be an ongoing issue. And we do review the numbers quarterly.
Awesome. That's all I had.
well, thank you both very much for coming out. We really appreciate your presentation and you taking the time to show to us and answer all of our questions. Mr. Riker, what would be the next steps of exploring this for Clausen?
So Chief and I will get together and I think probably forming the internal group to do our best to replicate what they have and bring it forward for your consideration along with an ordinance.
Very cool. Thank you so very, very much. Let's give them a round of applause. They came out. All right. Moving on, the next item on our agenda is consideration of approving the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the minutes of the regular city council meeting held on Tuesday, April 21st, 2026, minutes of the workshop city council held on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026, minutes of the special council meeting held on Thursday, April 23rd, 2026, and the list of bills in the amount of $5,759,147.53.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Spisak?
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin?
Yes.
Mayor Moffett?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke?
Yes.
Councilmember Pelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski?
Yes.
All right, we have just approved our consent agenda as presented. The next item on our agenda is discussion of city council candidates and recommendation for appointment.
Madam Mayor, I move the discussion and consideration of the city council candidate be approved.
Support.
All right. You know, I guess before we talk about the method that we're going to state our preferences for the person to fill the seat, I just want to, thank everyone who applied, and we were so very, very lucky to have such a great candidate pool, so many great candidates to choose from to fill this seat. So thank you, everyone who participated and applied and was part of the process. I'm just thrilled with the outcome of it. I think, unless anyone wants to, does anyone want to have a discussion before we move to do you want to have a discussion before we move to who we want to go? All right, go ahead, Councilmember Slawinski.
I actually just had one question, and the question is, once we select, I was wondering when the new council person will be sworn in.
So there's and I will let our city clerk answer that, but there is the criteria that they do need to be sworn in within 10 days of the appointment. So, and I don't see any of the candidates here tonight. So once we pick the person, I assume Ms. Cuckoo, that the city clerk will contact the person and let them know that they were selected and make arrangements for them to be sworn in here. And then we can, again, do a ceremonial swearing in at the next council meeting so their family can come and take pictures and celebrate with them on the accomplishment. Is that pretty much what we're all planning to do? All right. Good question. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, thanks.
Councilmember Spisak, do you have any questions, comments, discussion before we dive in?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Councilmember Tinlin?
No, I'm always ready to go on this one, so.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke, all right, Councilmember Peltonen?
I'm ready.
All right. So then what we'll do is I'll go down the row and we'll just identify who our preference is, and then we'll keep a tally, and the person with the most votes will be the one who is offered
top one.
The top one. So just give your top one person. Is everyone in agreement with that? Top one person, and then if we have a tie.
You still
we'll
would
start
have
with-
to make a motion to, if that person has 4 or more, you would then have to make a motion.
Right.
So that might be the cleaner way to do it, is simply make a motion.
Well, we want to get everyone's input on that, so we want to go through, see who's everyone's interested. Once we have that tally, then someone can make a motion to appoint that person. So, Councilmember Pelton, and who would you vote for?
Adam Duberstein.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke?
Ethan Hahn.
Councilmember Zelinski?
Adam Duberstein.
Councilmember Spishak?
Adam Duberstein.
Councilmember Tinlin?
Ethan Hahn.
Of course. My preference was Ethan Hahn as well, and we have a split vote. So, and that's what happens when you have even numbers.
You would simply continue to vote.
I'm thinking of a way to give everyone a moment to collect their thoughts, see if anyone's interested in changing their mind on this vote.
I think since you have it narrowed down to obviously 2.
Correct.
Someone should make a motion for the vote in the affirmative, so therefore that the actions are recorded as actual votes, and if it ties, it ties. Because right now what you're doing is not necessarily a motion.
Agreed. That's why we made a motion for a discussion. So we're having a discussion about it.
We could say what we liked about the candidates.
I think that's an excellent
I mean,
point, Councilmember Pelton. Let's have a discussion about what your preference was. So I think that's a great idea. Councilmember Pelton, and what would you say your reason for preferring the candidate you preferred?
Well, thank you for asking. I think Adam and Ethan were both incredibly great choices, and we were extremely lucky to have them both apply. I really appreciated Adam's, he mentioned building a wellness coalition, starting a walking and talking. I really liked his background, his knowledge on psychology. I think he would do a really good job balancing out and filling this seat. I don't think Ethan would not do a great job, but I do like that Adam had a little more kind of what he sees happening just in the city.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yeah, and those are my top 2 candidates, and they have, very different. They bring very different. Would bring very different attributes to the council. Adam's, super passionate, understanding of people, mental health. He's, in the teaching field. But I picked Ethan because his finance background, I think, could be a big asset up here. I think it'd be a huge benefit to help us see his perspective, since he's been in a bunch of different cities managing their finances, and to take a look at ours. So that's why I picked him.
Councilmember Slawinski.
I liked them both as well. They both had a lot of strengths. One of the things that I liked most about Adam is he's an ethics professor, so that was very important to me. And the fact that he lives and works in Clawson. Ethan works all the way over in Grosse Pointe Woods, and has a 2-year-old. And as far as being available more to come to special meetings, stuff like that, I thought working and living in Clawson was a strength. So those are the 2 things that I thought for, which is why I was chosen Adam.
Councilmember Spishak.
My draw to Adam was, was based on his he's already dedicated in the community. He comes out to council meetings. He comes out to other meetings, participates in different events. I see him around town all the time. So I just, and, to echo both Meredith and Laura, I think that was sort of what pushed me his way, but both fantastic candidates.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Well, and I agree. Adam and Ethan I mean, we could work with either one. Why I was drawn to Ethan is because of his financial background. And that's really important to me right now because we have the millage coming up. Not to say that our new financial director is not competent, he's great, but it would be nice to have that perspective because I have a financial background, but it's a profit and loss. Also, that he has been in the arena and works on the city administration side. So he knows both sides of the angles. And I think that would bring a good factor in. But Adam is very active in the community. I hope either one of these people that we don't select today hopefully runs next year. That would be wonderful to have him on the staff. But I think Ethan brings the skill set we need, especially a lot of us ran on financial responsibility, and it would be great to have a financial guy on the DS with us.
And I would agree. I mean, that was the reason I was, obviously, I think Adam was a great candidate, respect him very much. I love his passion for the city, and that's one thing that I, out of the gate said I was really interested in getting a candidate that had that passion, and he brings a lot of skills and expertise. But the thing that drew me to Ethan was kind of what Councilmember Tinlin said. He has a lot of the experience in the industry. He has a lot of financial experience, and as we move through, the funds with the bonds and some of the questions that come up with that, and our administration of that, and we make some of those decisions. It seems like it's almost like we would have an insider on the table to help us make some of those decisions and help guide us in some of the directions that we need to go. So that's why I was more drawn to Ethan, just because he has that, he's in the biz and the professional background. So let's do this. I'm going to take one more poll and see if that discussion led anyone to change their mind. And if not, I have a plan B in my head. So let's, I think I started down there last time. You might have to take over in a minute. Let's start. Councilmember Tinlin.
Comes up with Plan B.
Well, I'm kind of interested in that plan too. So, but Ethan Hahn is still my choice. I think he's the right person for the right time, the right need. So we have to look at what we have to do for our citizens. And I think he's that slot we should fill to make a full council.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Tinlin. Councilmember Spishak.
My vote still stands with Adam.
All right, Councilmember Selinsky.
My vote still stands with Adam.
Well, we're a decisive group, at least. Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Still Ethan Hahn.
And Councilmember Peltonen.
Yeah, I want to see your Plan B. Still with Adam. I'm still with Adam.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so my Plan B is that we have to make a decision, and to that end, I will then change my vote to Adam so that we can get to a conclusion here, and I'll make the motion that we appoint Adam Duberston to the vacant council seat.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Yes.
You put on there with the term to expire is November 2nd of 2027?
I modified my motion to specify that the council seat that he'll be appointed to expires with the November 2027 election. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Peltonen,
Yes.
Councilmember Selinsky,
Yes.
Councilmember Spishak.
Yes.
All right, we have appointed Adam Duberston to the open vacant council seat. Let's give him a round of applause. Again, just express our thankfulness, gratitude for everyone who participated. We had a lot of great candidates. We're exceptionally lucky to have so many qualified people come forward and willingness to serve. All right, moving on. Our next item on the agenda is consideration of placing the delinquent city bills on the summer 2026 tax rolls.
I move to place the delinquent city bills on the summer 2026 tax rolls be approved.
Support.
Mr. Riker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Every 6 months before the taxes are sent out to the residents and business owners, the city is able to place the delinquent bills on the respective tax roll. Examples of potential delinquent billings each year consist of rubbish collection, cleanup costs, vacant home inspections, and water bills. This delinquent billing rollover consists of unpaid water, rental applications fees, fire inspection fees that are 180 days past due to the city of Clawson. Once approved by council, the list of delinquent bills will be transferred as assessments to the 2026 summer tax statements for the properties listed. This year, we are requesting that the following totals, which include the 10% penalty, be transferred onto the summer 2026 tax rolls. Delinquent water assessments in the amount of $245,964.62, and delinquent building department inspections for $7,986. Total delinquent billings in the summer of 2026 tax roll, $250,950.62.
Before I open the floor for discussion, I'm just curious. I noticed there were some in the list of resident bills that we were given. There were some that that seemed really high. I don't remember seeing that in the past. Is that, like, does it accumulate and when it hits a
Water
certain
bills?
threat? Yeah.
So we do have some, we're in the process of addressing a shut-off policy that we hope to mitigate these bills growing that high in the future.
Okay, so I guess my question was, like, I saw there was one house that had a $7,000 outstanding balance. Is that just for, like, from the last time, or do they get to go a couple years before?
No, it is since accumulation.
Wow, really? Okay. It's crazy. Any other comments or questions? No one comments or questions? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Pelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Have just approved the placing of the delinquent city bills on the summer tax roll. The next item on the agenda is consideration of the second reading of ordinance number 800 to rezone the property at 340 North Main Street from Office Service O-1 and Single Family Resident R-2 to Core Residential CR.
Madam Mayor, I move the second reading of ordinance number 800 to rezone the property at 340 North Main Street, parcel ID 20-34-352-016 and 20-34-352-017 from a mixed designation of office service O1 and a single-family residential R2 to a single designation of core residential CR be approved as presented. Support.
Mr. Spetnik?
Close. Rennis can read this if he wants to. Thank you, Mayor and Council. During the City Council meeting on April 21st, 2026, the City Council approved an application to change the zoning from a mixed designation of Office Service O1 and Single Family Residential R2 to a single designation of Core Residential CR at 340 North Main Street. During the meeting, it was noted that a zoning map amendment is considered an amendment to the Code of Ordinances, but it was not stated that it would be considered a first reading if approved. As all amendments to the Code of Ordinances require 2 readings, the City Council shall review and approve a second reading of the amendment to officially approve the request following the approval on April 21st, 2026. Again, this proposal to rezone the property complies with the future land use map adopted in 2025 as part of the master plan. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, are there any questions? Looking this way. Any questions this way? Having no questions, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Pelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett.
Yes. All right, we have just approved the second reading of the revision to ordinance number 800. Our next item on the agenda is consideration of the master service agreement for renewal of the flock camera system for the Clawson Police Department operations. I think the most prudent thing is to start off with the motion for discussion.
Madam Mayor, I move the 2-year renewal of the contract from Flock Group Incorporated at the annual fee of $12,000 be approved.
Support.
Do you want to read the?
Sure.
Go ahead.
At the April 21st 2026 council meeting, this agenda item failed to be approved after considerable discussion around specific concerns. The Flock representative took council's concerns to their legal department and in cooperation with the Clawson City Attorney addressed them within his letter and modified the master services agreement, both attached herein. The administration is recommending approval of the master services agreement for the renewal of 2 years at an annual fee of $12,000.
Chief Boss.
Hi. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. At our last City Council meeting, concerns were expressed with the content and/or language in the Flock contract that it's up for renewal. Presented to you tonight, as Mr. Raker just said, is in the packet is the updated contract, which addressed those concerns. I have with me this evening one of Flock's directors, Mr. Jamie Hudson. Also from Flock here on Zoom, we have Deputy General Counsel Jackie Fishbein, Chief Information of Security Officer Chris Cataldo, and Trevor Chandler, who is one of Flock's Director of Public Affairs. They're all here today to answer questions you may have and provide clarity on any potential misconceptions that spread through the media. Also with me today, I have Clawson Police Sergeant Paul Korb, who is the supervisor in charge of our midnight shift, and our School Resource Officer, Lindsay Brozich. Before I turn the mic over, I'd like to share a few words. At our last City Council meeting, a few citizens spoke requesting that you vote not to renew, as they did tonight. Many, if not the majority, of those citizens were from outside the city of Clawson. Here in our community, many businesses and residents do support having Flock automated license plate reader cameras and desire for the contract to be renewed. I know you heard from some of them today at this meeting, and I believe you heard from some of them via email. One person in particular that I'd like to mention that I spoke with is Father Tony from Guardian Angels Church. And the reason I mention him is because Guardian Angels Church also has an elementary school. They're a vulnerable target in our city for mass violence. Father Tony supports the Flock cameras. He's familiar with them. He's familiar with technology. And I believe he sent you an email in regards to that today. Unfortunately, some other businesses have voiced concerns to me personally that they share their support of Flock, but they don't want to share it tonight in public for fear that they or their businesses would face retribution due to the hysteria that's being spread. Additionally, I want to reiterate that we have the automated license plate reader poll cameras that take a still shot of the license plate that there is no legal expectation of privacy for. We do not have the Condor recording cameras that most people have referenced tonight. While I understand the perceived violations of privacy, this is not a surveillance tool. It is used in response to a crime or a missing person. While you balance the needs of the community today, I would like to remind you of the reasons why this technology is essential to law enforcement and that the benefits outweigh the potential concerns. The evolution of policing in America is just like the evolution of every trade or other line of work. 100 years ago, our world was transformed by electricity and automobiles. Today, it's more advanced technology that continues to revolutionize us. Technology is reshaping society. It's advancing every profession from the medical field to the auto industry to cellular phones you carry in your pocket. This includes the criminal justice system. Specifically, in law enforcement, license plate reader cameras advance our ability to solve crimes that oftentimes we might not have the ability to solve. Most current FBI data covering shootings at schools and places of worship show that approximately 40% of assailants flee the scene and go elsewhere. Figuring out where they are going is paramount to preventing further harm. Yesterday, I spoke with the field expert in critical response and mass attacks. He stated, "I feel very confident that automated license plate reader cameras will play a large role in the near future to determine where a suspect is going next. It's invaluable," he stated. "License plate reader cameras will be instrumental in us trying to figure out the assailant's direction of travel, where they are headed, in order to prevent a future attack. This ability is essential." He provided 2 examples that occurred in 2023, where an active assailant murdered several people in the community at different locations. One example was given where an active assailant murdered people at a dance studio, then fled and murdered people at another dance studio. Another 2023 example is a shooting that occurred at a bowling alley. The suspect fled. He then went to a restaurant and shot more people. This expert advised that if Flock automated license plate reader cameras were available to law enforcement in those situations, they would have been able to potentially locate the direction of travel and potentially prevent the second attack. Mr. Stepness, can you please play the video from Brown University?
When there's crimes that shock the conscience, the community expects answers, and they expect them immediately. And so that's where technology comes into play.
Police say after opening fire on students at Brown, Claudio Neves Valente then drove back to Boston and changed the license plates on his rental car. He then entered the home of an MIT professor and reportedly shot him Monday night.
It was a shock. It was always a question of when, not if, a mass shooting would come to your community.
We had an image of a subject, a grainy image, nothing great. We turned that into a clothing description, but it still told us nothing about who that individual was.
Old-fashioned policing was key because that took knocking on doors, seeing what type of video we could pull from different homes. But there's only so much you can do with that.
Ultimately, we did get some information about a vehicle, and that's where things really started to come together.
When you have Flock, and someone's giving you a description of a vehicle, and you can combine that with Flock that can actually do a thorough search, that's critical.
Once we have information that we know Flock's going to help us with, it doesn't take long after that. The pieces just started falling into place, and all of that has started from the data we were able to acquire through Flock.
Public safety starts with policing. Families don't want to live in a neighborhood that's unsafe. Businesses don't want to relocate to a town that's not safe.
I'm just happy that we had the license plate readers in Flock.
Prior to having all this technology, I don't know that we could have tied an individual to a car. And if we don't tie that individual to that car, this case may not have ever been solved.
Thank you. So as you can see, license plate reader cameras were used to solve and apprehend the suspect in this case, which just occurred in December of 2025. So 4 out of 10 acts of mass violence involve a fleeing suspect. Our large-scale event in Clawson bring thousands of people to our little town, such as Clawson Fest or the car show. These are vulnerable targets, these organized events that we have. The 4th of July brings upwards of 40,000 people to town every year. If there were to be an active assailant at an event like this, we would likely have mass casualties. The use of license plate reader technology would be imperative in expediting the investigation to locate the suspect before they attack again. Investigations is where law enforcement uses this tool most often, not just in identifying vehicles and suspects, but also in eliminating suspects and corroborating alibis. It narrows down leads, it establishes timelines, and makes for more efficient investigations. It also assists with asset recovery, such as when a business is robbed, or, as you heard, like when a vehicle is stolen from Clawson Auto Sales, and Flock is used to recover the vehicle. But most importantly, during times of crisis, your worst nightmare, when your loved one goes missing, is experiencing a mental health crisis, or when someone you care about is most vulnerable in that moment and needs help. Using this tool, we can create alerts on vehicles of missing dementia patients, missing residents that have Alzheimer's and perhaps drove away, kidnapping suspects, suspects wanted in violent crimes, just to name a few. I could speak all night long on the success stories of crime solved and people rescued from all over our state of Michigan, as I did right here in Southeast Oakland County 2 weeks ago with the use of Flock license plate reader cameras. Just last week, the Detroit Police Department located and arrested a homicide suspect in Utah using Flock license plate reader cameras. To remind you of some of the success stories we've had in Clawson, in addition to the stolen vehicle from Clawson Auto Sales, we used to assist with locating a person who was experiencing a mental health crisis and needed immediate emergency mental health attention. We located and arrested a suspect in a stabbing almost immediately following. We located and arrested subjects in a drive-by shooting within 24 hours. Identified a suspect and recovered a stolen trailer full of $30,000 worth of items. We would have never solved that case without the use of flock cameras. We identified hit-and-run drivers. We've protected citizens, a citizen, and business owner when threats to their life were made. We recovered a stolen vehicle from another jurisdiction. We arrested a violent offender in a domestic assault, an aggravated domestic assault. We identified a suspect in a malicious destruction of property case. We eliminated and closed out a case that was a potential child abuse case. We were able to determine it was unfounded with the assistance of those cameras. We've used them in a larceny by trickery case, a retail fraud case at a local business, an assault and battery, an arrest that a suspect fled from police, and I could go on. Our neighboring agencies have dozens of success stories to use using their flock cameras in similar situations, and notably in the apprehension of the DTE impersonators in Rochester Hills that occurred, I believe that was last year. The homeowner was robbed, killed. He owned a jewelry store, and he was murdered. The Oakland County Sheriff's Department used their automated license plate reader cameras in that case, and that person is being held accountable today. There was a bank robbery in April on Maple Road in Bloomfield Township, flock used to apprehend their suspect. Royal Oak PD, homicide. Roseville PD, kidnapping and sexual assault of a juvenile, located and saved the girl near the Ohio border. Birmingham PD, flock cameras used to locate missing elderly person, also located a missing and endangered person during a domestic violence investigation. As I told you 2 weeks ago, Troy PD used them in their Corwell Health shooting. They have a number of other cases. The list is extensive that they've used them in. Madison Heights PD has used their flock cameras to locate a missing Alzheimer's patient and to arrest a suspect in a human trafficking case. We all sit here and think this isn't going to happen to us. These are happening all around us. West Bloomfield didn't think that their temple was going to be attacked. And the church in Grand Blanc didn't think they were going to be attacked that day. We need to be prepared if that event happens here. I understand the concerns behind the misuse, and we are committed to annual policy reviews and more frequent audit trails as we continue to move forward with this technology. Additionally, there are several House bills on the floor that are addressing the use of this tool currently. There was testimony taken in April at the House Judiciary Committee meeting and future regulation of this tool for the support of law enforcement use, but also the regulation of this tool to be able to regulate it a little better are listed in bills that are currently on the floor. One of those bills is actually proposed by a member from Macomb County, so nearby. Being your police chief is a privilege. It's an honor and a responsibility that I don't take lightly. Your police department includes small town Big Heart. It's not just the residents and the businesses. Please vote yes today to renew this contract tonight. Before I turn the mic over to Flock to answer any questions, I have two of my police officers with me tonight who have requested to make statements. So I will pass the microphone to School Resource Officer Lindsay Brozich.
I feel like I'm taller than you. Good evening. For those of you that don't know, my name is Officer Lindsay Brozich, and I'm your school liaison officer. Not only that, up until very recently, I was a resident of Clawson for pretty much my entire life. Growing up on Walper, living on Essex, my parents are on Stephen, and I lived on South Weebick until recently. I'm entrusted to keep staff and students safe in our schools, including the staff and children at the Early Childhood Center. When I think about the safety of your children, I think about them as my own, because my own children are also CPS students. My kids go to school with bulletproof backpacks because that's the kind of world we live in today, unfortunately. You never think anything bad is going to happen until it does. I bring 5 years of dispatch and 911 call-taking experience, along with over 5 years of patrol experience. Throughout my career, I've received life-saving awards, been recognized as Police Service Aide of the Year, and completed extensive training to ensure that I am as effective and prepared as possible in serving this community. Before accepting my position in the schools, I worked midnights on patrol, where I focused primarily on getting drunk and drug-impaired drivers off of our streets. I like to think that I have earned the respect of several parents and community members here in Clawson. I have also handled stolen vehicle cases more than a handful of times. These situations require putting together puzzle pieces and following investigative leads to track down vehicles that were often left unlocked overnight by our citizens. This can involve spending many hours knocking on doors, sometimes at 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning, just to see if a neighbor's Ring camera captured useful footage. While I am grateful to those citizens who assist in our investigations, tools like Flock provide a faster and more efficient way for us to do this work. From a school safety perspective, I think about incidents like the Parkland school shooting. The shooter, Nicholas Cruz, left the school alongside other students after killing 17 people and injuring 17 others. He was eventually apprehended, but he had blended in and left the scene. This is not a small crime. If someone in a similar situation were to leave in a vehicle instead of on foot, law enforcement would need to know where they are headed next. Tools like Flock allow agencies to track movement across jurisdictions and coordinate more effectively. I also ask you to consider this scenario. Your child is walking home one evening and is suddenly forced into a vehicle. Also not a small crime. A witness is only able to provide a limited description, a dark-colored SUV seen leaving the area. In those first critical moments, time is everything. With Flock, officers can quickly identify vehicles matching that description within a specific location and time frame, track their direction of travel, and share that information across jurisdictions in real time. That speed and coordination can make a crucial difference in locating someone's child and safely bringing them home. And I speak like this as a parent also, not just a law enforcement officer. As a parent, I would want law enforcement to have every available tool to quickly identify and apprehend the driver responsible. It is important for you to know that when we look up a vehicle description for any reason, we must include an incident number and reason for our search, all of which is kept on record. When I think about Flock being removed as a tool for our officers, who swore an oath to protect the community of Clawson, it is frustrating. It's frustrating that I'm standing here talking about this today. This is especially true when many neighboring agencies are hiring with desirable contracts, higher pay, pensions, and strong support from their community, which they serve. I have loved serving the community that I grew up in, but this is both frustrating and disheartening. I feel like we don't have the confidence or support of the community to perform an already mentally and physically taxing job when we are continuously striving to assist all our citizens to the best of our ability. It is difficult to have tools taken away while also being expected to respond quickly and solve complex cases in a timely manner and being scrutinized for it. We remain committed to serving this community to the best of our ability, and having the right tools plays an important role in that effort. Thank you.
Sergeant Paul Korb.
Everybody, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. And I also want to thank everybody here who spoke, because I have a different perspective. I've been doing this for 31 years. I know I didn't start when I was 15, but I have kids about the same age as the people who spoke for and against Flock. And I love my kids more than anything in the whole world, and I respect their opinion. Whether they agree or not, I want to hear it. That's why I have no notes with me. No offense, but I'm just speaking off the cuff here from my 31 years of experience. And to the young lady that was stalked, it's one of the reasons I became a police officer is because, my sister was attacked and and this person tried to rape her in Ferndale. And so that was one of my reasons. But at the same time, I don't want to be pigeonholed into the 14 people who misused Flock. There's about 700,000 police officers in this country, give or take. And I don't want to be pigeonholed in as 14. I've never abused the system in my 31 years. Am I worried about technology? Yes. I mean, how can you not? I mean, since COVID, this whole world is crazy. I'm not kidding. It's the craziest I've ever had in 31 years. AI, my kids won't even let me talk to them about it because one article I read, you know, it's going to revolutionize everything. And the other article I read is we're all going to be unemployed and it's going to destroy the human race. So, yeah, of course, everybody's concerned about technology. When I first started, we didn't have any of this. They gave us a gun belt, handcuffs, a prep radio about the size of a small toaster that works sometimes, and a car. And you went out and you tried to fight crime. Over these 31 years, and I already retired once, and I was I want you to know that I know what I'm talking about. I've been police officer of the year twice in 2 different cities. I've been a detective. Actually, my last person as a detective I put away because of cameras. He put a gun to a senior citizen's head who was handicapped and robbed her. And I spent hundreds of hours on that case. And he's in our Michigan prisons now for 15 years. The thing is, I've seen through the years how technology has improved immensely. And everything from my earpiece to my taser to my rifle, I had none of that when I first started. None of it. And it's really helped me be able to do my job right. And I love working with younger officers because I love hearing their opinions. I love it. It makes me feel young, and I'm almost like the dad, unfortunately, but you know, I'm still capable of doing this job. I was young when I started, and I respect everybody's opinion. I really do. And it's a scary time in this world. And like any other tool, it can be used for good or bad. I've seen a hammer used to put in a picture, and I've seen a hammer used to hit somebody in the head with. And for me personally, I have never abused any of my powers, ever. A matter of fact, I'm probably the nicest cop, unless you get me angry, that you'll meet. Because I want to listen to everybody's side. Everybody's got a story. Okay, and I'm not going to go there and I'm not going to judge them. I got to find out just the facts. I'm going to stick to the facts. Emotions run high. Believe me, I've done this. I've done everything. If you want to watch 30 seasons of Cops, I've probably done everything on there. But my issue is, and I respect, I don't agree, but I respect that, yes, technology can be used the wrong way. I agree. However, you have to weigh the benefits to, you know, the potential of the abuse. And to me, I wanted to listen to everybody because I wasn't at the last council meeting. So I wanted to hear everybody's opinion. A lot of things I learned today, too. I didn't know some of the things that were said. I don't know if they're factual or not. I'm not judging. I want to find out as much as I can. But at the same time, these tools, every tool that I was given over the past 31 years, from in-car computers to tasers, have helped me to do my job, helped me get my people home every night, because we're a whole different breed on midnights, believe me. I mean, when you guys are asleep, I'm out there trying to protect you guys. And especially on midnights, there's some major crimes. After about 1:30 or 2, it's usually cops and criminals until about 5. Okay, and Clawson's a very safe city. I chose to come here. I came out of retirement to come here. They asked me to be a sergeant. I became a sergeant, and I love this city. I really do. Otherwise, I don't need to be working right now. I got a pension from my other, although I did put my kids through college, but that's another story. But, I'm doing this because I want to protect the citizens. And anytime a tool is taken away from me, and it's not my fault, it really hurts. It really makes me sad because I don't want people to think that Clawson Police, especially the chief, she's very, very good at, okay, why were you on Flock? I want a report number. I want a reason why. And I do the same thing with my people. None of my people go on Flock just to find somebody or to stalk somebody. That's not the case, because I guarantee you I would tell the chief, and the chief would fire them on the spot. Because we swore an oath, just like you all did, to serve and protect this country, I mean this city and country. But it's your job to give us everything that we can to make this city as safe as possible. And I really do think, and to be honest, I only use Flock for major crimes. You know, I don't go on there for just to look up a car or just to see what's going on that night. That's not what I do. And I don't run anybody just because I want to, you know, because this person looks suspicious, or I don't profile somebody because of their age or their color. I wasn't raised that way. Matter of fact, my mom was a young woman in Nazi Germany, and she actually lost a lot of friends, and they just disappeared. And I was raised to be very open-minded and to not profile people, not base them on their skin or their color or anything like that. So I want everybody to know here that we're not the bad guys. I don't know who sells information, and I'll be short and I'll be done here. But I do want to tell you one thing. I worked in another city before I came here, and I drove by a dispensary all the time, a marijuana dispensary. And unfortunately, I can't go there, but, you know. I lived 30 miles away in another county from that city. And all of a sudden, I'm watching a Godzilla flick or something, and I kept getting dispensary advertisements from this place 30 miles away. And I was like, what is going on? So I actually went to the owner, who was very nice, and I said, why am I getting ads from your dispensary at my house in a different county on my TV? And he was like, he high-fived his partner and said, oh, it's working. Every time your phone goes by my dispensary, which is probably 12, 15 times a day, it keeps track of it. And so I buy all that information from some company, and they targeted me, and I'm a citizen too. And they targeted me and gave me ads on my own TV at my own house. And it's all because of this phone. And it had nothing to do with Flock. So I was a victim too, if you want to say that. But Flock, in my opinion, is way down on the level of invading privacy, because you need a reason, at least as a police officer, you need a reason to go on there. Now, what the company does with the information, I have no idea. But I know that my people and the chief makes it very an important point that we do not abuse this system at all. None. Nobody will. I will immediately suspend somebody who misabuses it, and I guarantee the chief will fire them. So thank you for everybody for talking. I learned a lot. But please also know I'm a civilian. I drive my car, and I'm not worried about Flock. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Tell him not to leave, because I have questions.
Sergeant Corb?
No, you can do your thing first, but we're going to let you say all your stuff, and then we'll open it up for questions. Okay?
So I'm sorry, you want Sergeant Corb now? Or
No, you could, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want him to be there after.
Okay. I'm all done. And he's
Okay.
here just to answer questions, or did you have?
Yeah, so just to kind of reiterate what the sergeant said, I'm Jamie Hudson. I'm the Director of Product Training and Consulting for Flock Safety. I also spent 31 years in law enforcement out in California, and all the stories that he just recited about technology development, lived through those as well. I want to commend the speakers in your audience, both for and against what's on this item tonight. It's nice to see articulation. It's nice to see passionate advocacy, and it's also nice to see deliberations from a council, from a chief, from a department on a topic that's this important. With that said, I do have others from the company with me virtually who can answer questions that I believe came up at the last time that we presented here a couple weeks ago. We have our Chief Information Security Officer, we have Deputy General Counsel, and Public Affairs as well. So happy to answer any questions, but if you wanted his questions first, I understand.
All right, well, if you don't have a formal presentation.
I do not.
I didn't catch your, yeah, come on back. Paul, all right. One of the first questions that comes to mind, and especially after you were speaking, is I've heard referenced several times, Flock is one of many tools. Can you talk about other technology tools or surveillance-esque things at your disposal that you use on a regular basis?
Well, obviously, which makes it safer. When I first started, we had to call dispatch if we were behind a car. You know, we didn't know if there was if they had warrants, if it was a stolen vehicle. We had to call dispatch, and they had to run them, and there was a gap. Now we're available in real time, like I said, for a reason. If I'm pulling over a car, I get instant. Is this car stolen? Does this person have a warrant? This is all from the Secretary of State. And so when I know, I wait for backup if I know it's a dangerous situation. And for that, that's huge. That helps a ton because we know, all right, we need backup and we need it there quick. But you know what? I'd say 90% of the people are great people and they just sped. I mean, we all speed, you know, but.
Well, I don't. But.
Sure. But I'm saying, you know, that's one of the tools. The other tool is when I first started, we didn't have in-car videos. We didn't have body cameras. I was one of the first to say, yeah, please. I want to be seen what I'm doing because I know everything that I'm doing is correct. And if I get a citizen complaint, I want them to review the video. And I didn't get many. But, so we got in-car videos, body cameras, real time on plates, and if they have a warrant or if they're wanted, and we know if it's a violent crime or just a traffic warrant. And like I said, 90% of the time it's just people going to work late. And so
And you said something that made me think of a presentation I saw. I don't know, I forget what I was watching, but as far as the body cameras, there was I think it was John Oliver that I was watching that talked about how body cameras have been faked sometimes. So my point is that that's another example of a technology that bad actors can use for bad instances. The other thing I wanted to ask, you know, so for example, my boyfriend, George Clooney, often borrows my car. And if he takes the car and goes and commits a crime with it, that car is triggered on Flock, but you don't know if me or George is in the car at the time, right? So talk to me about how, because people are concerned about their individual information being shared or identified, individuals in those instances. Just walk me through the thought process when my car gets triggered, but it's really George in the car versus me.
Do you mind if I answer this?
Yes,
one? I think
whoever.
there's some confusion on how it actually works.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are you talking about a hot list alert?
Yeah, something, you know,
So your license plate is tagged,
Right,
not you.
right. That's the point I'm getting to, that,
So the policy says, so basically when a hot list alert comes in, it comes into the Troy Dispatch Center. The Troy Dispatch Center runs the lien work and it verifies this hit exists, and then they dispatch it to us. If the officer locates the vehicle, they then also have to do those same safeguards and confirm that the license plate they're looking at, there isn't like a 1 being an I, because yes, that can happen. Yeah, the state, I mean, they have to verify it visually before they initiate a traffic stop. So when it comes to just the vehicle and just the license plate, we might not know who a driver is. But if there's more information and there's a suspect, like say the suspect is a male, 20 years old, but the vehicle's registers to you, you know, they are required, it says in the policy, to be able to, if possible, which is almost always possible, to be able to try to take a visual on the driver to make sure it matches. Now, is that information always available? No. But it oftentimes is, and if it's available, they're required to try to make sure it matches. And obviously, you or I aren't going to match a 20-year-old male, so that's easy to not.
I know I'm pretty ugly in the morning, so, you know.
Can I mention one thing too?
Yes, please.
Just about every stop that I've ever done, just a normal stop, I'm just talking a normal stop, I've been accused of it's because of my race or my age or the car I drive. I don't know who's driving the car. 99% of the time, I never see the driver until I approach it. You know, so I can't profile because I don't see this person. So that's not a valid argument, you know. But at the same time, if your car's hit as a stolen car, I have to make sure that my people get home safe. And yes, to the best of their ability, they should try to identify the driver and we have to confirm that the plate is actually stolen.
All right, I want to go ahead and open it up to the council. So we'll start with Councilmember Tinlin. Do you have any questions for any of our presenters
So
here?
just stay there by the mic. So, for me, this is a Clawson conversation. I really appreciate the people that were not in Clawson, and I know this is a national discussion. And I did my homework as well, so thank you for bringing up those bills that are being on legislation at a lot higher level to try to address that. But it's a tool, and we're doing the right thing. City councils that are successful at supporting the Flock tool has put guardrails on there. That's why we're going to look at the new contract. Also, we're trying to paint a picture here that we have LPRs, right? That's a fixed image. Where I hear a lot about the PTZ, which is a condor. Yeah, I probably have questions about that one. But that's not Clawson. We got 4, right, on poles. And we have administrative controls around that, right, because it has to have an investigation. And I want to support the police. We're elected officials. We're supposed to keep our citizens safe. So this is an essential tool. It's a multiplier, they call it. We have, 2 detectives? And that's it. So taking away a tool like this is not what we should be doing as city officials. We should put guardrails on there, which I think we are. We have administrative policies, which some cities don't have. So I think we have an adequate amount to control the risk of this technology tool. So that's my first comments.
Any questions or just comments?
No comments. I was going to comment on the contract because we redlined it, and it sounds like Flock accepted it, except for if you're acquired by another company, correct?
Yeah, I would want our deputy general counsel to speak to that, who is on this, because she's the one that worked with Mr. City Attorney to get that.
Well, my private sector job, I do a lot of divestiture and investment, right, and acquisition. So typically, any company, you're buying the assets, which is data, but normally those customer requirements or legal contracts are sent to the new owner. So that means our Clawson contract, if we approve it, even if it was owned, that goes over as a package. Is that correct, City Attorney?
That is correct.
Okay. So people saying, well, they didn't agree to everything. Well, my company wouldn't agree to that either, because that's the value of your company if you ever do sell, right? So those are my questions.
Can we go ahead and have the attorney answer that question as well?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, this is Jackie Fishbein, Deputy GC here at Flock. That's exactly right. So, in the event of an acquisition of Flock, or a change of control or something like that, all customer contracts would continue to be the obligation of Flock and any acquirer. So, that was just more of a like administrative issue of not quite understanding what the city was looking for there. But I do want to assure you that any acquirer of Flock or in any sort of change in control, the same protections that are set forth in that contract would apply to, you know, the new owner of Flock. The protections of the contract do not, you know, disappear or are not negated in the case of a change of control.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Councilman?
And just my last thing, just for the police, right? You know, they do so much for our community, and I really appreciate that. And they ask for very little. And so I'm hearing the message loud and clear. This is a valuable tool. We have it under control. We can put some more guidelines around it. But, you know, I respect what they do, and I thank them.
And the cost is less than 1% of my operating budget.
Councilmember Spishak.
I had a couple of questions. So in the, I believe it was the red line version, there was the notation of the, sorry, let me find where I was writing that. Section 7 of the InfoSec addendum says the backups may temporarily retain data after deletion. I wanted to, I guess, understand that a little better.
I'll defer that question to Chris Castaldo, who is our CISO, who's also on the line.
Great to meet you all. If you deleted data, so let's say you changed your retention period, which I don't know what that setting is for your specific account. Let's say it's the default 30 days. If you change that tomorrow to say 14 days, in those backups that exist in AWS, that data would still be there until that backup ages off. It wouldn't be retroactive, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And then there was also the section on data breach, AWS. So I guess it said there was a 72-hour notice for data breach. Is that when AWS notices the data breach? Is that Flock? Is that internal? I guess that's, I want to make sure I understand where that's coming from.
I can answer that as well, and Jackie can chime in if there's anything to add, but that would be when we notice the breach. If we were notified by AWS that they were breached, the 72 hours would apply there as well.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilmember Slawinski.
Hi, thank you for being here. I just have a couple of questions. One is for Chief Baus. Father Tony's email, I didn't receive it. So can you send that to me and Alec? Because neither one of us got it. I don't know if everybody else.
I think he just addressed it to me.
I don't have the email. He just told me he was emailing.
Yeah, he sent, I think he just sent it to me and maybe Mr. Riker.
We didn't receive that. So, yeah, okay.
It was
All right.
directly from Father Tony, though. I'm just looking real quick here.
Okay. And my second question is, you know, a lot of programs are software programs. You're using them, and all of a sudden you receive something called terms and conditions. Click here to continue your service. So will we ever see that with Flock?
I'll let
Jump in on that one.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so part of the exercise that we're undergoing here for your approval is to sign a master services agreement, the one that's marked up and presented to you today for consideration. So once we sign that agreement, any updates to our online, URL terms and conditions will be completely inapplicable to you all, and we would not be able to change or update the legal terms and conditions between our two parties without a signed amendment by both parties.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yeah, thank you. I guess one of my concerns is the whole process of requesting that a plate be pulled. So I just wanted to, can you walk me through the process? So you have a license plate number. Does an officer on the road need any approvals from you or a sergeant or anybody in the, chain of command to go into the system and look that up? And if so, what does that look like?
No, they don't.
Okay.
Not to, I mean, you're saying they're on an investigation or whatever
Yeah.
it may be, and they have to run it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, they don't need approval.
Okay. And then what record is kept in, like, can I go in the I haven't been to it, I'll be honest. The transparency dashboard, can I go and see Officer so-and-so has looked up, a plate? Can I see that? Or can it be
I'll let you
FOIA'd or
speak
can
to
you see it?
The organization's admin, so whoever the chief has designated as the admin, can do an audit on all inquiries, et cetera. Those are in perpetuity. Those do not have an expiration. So they are able to audit, they are able to see who ran that. Now, if the organization puts in employee numbers as opposed to names, et cetera, that's what's going to display, right, in that audit. But yes, you can go in perpetuity, go back as far as you've had the system and audit who queried what and when and why.
Okay. And then I think somebody was asking about it, but can you comment a little more on your data security?
I cannot, but Chris can on the web. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yep, absolutely. I can talk through that. So at a high level, we are audited annually against several different standards. One is SOC 2 Type 2. That's a more U.S. based standard. We also adhere to and are certified under ISO 27001, which is an information security certification. Our audit firm Baker Tilly conducts those. Those results are available at all times to your chief, to the council on our security portal at security.flocksafety.com. Going a little deeper, we have a large security team. We've got about 25 folks. We have several open roles at the moment. We'll probably end this year around 30 cybersecurity professionals on the team, and that ranges from governance, risk and compliance, incident response, threat hunting, offensive security, and what that means is we have hackers in-house that are constantly trying to hack our own systems. On top of that, we also conduct annual penetration tests with outside firms. So we bring in third parties that are accredited and globally known. We just completed our annual pen test with a firm called Bishop Fox, large, well-known firm here in the U.S. And that is every year continuously. That report will also be available to the chief and you all through our trust portal. So the list goes on, but we have quite a robust cybersecurity program at the moment that continues to grow.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, I know data security is obviously not bulletproof. My healthcare provider sent me a letter that, my data was compromised. Does that mean I stopped going to the doctor? No, it's a calculated risk I take. So, it's the pros and cons I'm weighing, and that's all I have for right now.
Councilmember Peltonen.
Yeah, so the example you used of the Brown University, do you know what kind of cameras they used, if they used the Condor cameras that we don't have?
They did not. No, this was all license plate reader cameras that were used by not just that general agency, but agencies around that agency as well in order to find that vehicle that kept having a license plate swapped.
So could you kind of explain what the difference is between the Condor and the regular license plate?
Yeah, for sure. So the Condor is just a live pan tilt zoom camera. So if you look at those like super secure schools you have right behind us here, those have pan tilt zoom cameras and fixed multi-lens cameras. Pan tilt zoom cameras allow the user, so it's a live person, to grab a camera and zoom in, pan left or right, tilt up or down. Those cameras are useful when you either have a live person that is operating that camera, or if there is, and many companies that design these cameras have technology built into those to where it can identify, say, a human walking where they shouldn't be walking at an hour they shouldn't be walking in, as determined by the end user, right, so the police. And then it would alert the police, hey, you wanted to know if somebody was in a park between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., we see them. So barring that type of technology on top of it, it's generally used with a live operator. Now that's an interactive camera. The multi-sensor is a passive camera. That's predominant on buildings, et cetera. So you get 270 degrees or 360 degree shots of continuous footage being recorded for whatever reasons, right? Either infrastructure security or human security. So the second piece is a license plate reader. Those were developed to capture a still image of a vehicle that goes by that camera. So it's a millisecond image that is captured as this car goes by. It's the design. The nature of the design is to capture from the rear because most vehicles in the United States have rear license plates. It's not designed to capture the front of a vehicle. So when we do talk about personal identifying information, that relative to the vehicle is not capturing, say, my face inside the rental car that I have right now. So the police still have to police, right? They still have to investigate. If I committed a crime here on my way out of town, which I will not, Chief, I promise, but if I did that, then they're going to know who, or they're going to know what car went by this license plate reader. They have to then still investigate with the rental company who's supposed to have that car and do that thorough investigation. Those cameras are not live cameras. They're live in the sense that they absolutely take pictures when vehicles go by. They are not live in that if I walked by one, it is not taking my picture.
But the Condor cameras are live.
Absolutely.
Do
yeah,
we
they're
know
designed
how
to be.
many around us there are?
I can come back to you with that. I don't.
Just
yeah.
curious how common they are.
Yeah,
if it's more common to not have them, or if it's more common
Yeah.
to have them.
What I can tell you is, and the easiest way to figure that out, drive anywhere, look up in any intersection, right? Most of these cameras are in intersections. They're not Condors. These are PTZ cameras and just general live cameras. You can see them on poles. So the ones that look like a bullet camera that's looking down at the roadway, those are generally used for traffic engineering. So just, do we have how many vehicles going by an intersection? It's live feed, generally not recorded, et cetera. The ones that look like a dome, those are generally either a multi-sensor or a PTZ camera. Not all Flock, right? There are many companies that manufacture this type of technology and have video management systems that record these. But if you drive around anywhere, you'll see a proliferation of cameras throughout jurisdictions for many reasons, for traffic engineering, for emergency management, for public safety.
Okay, and then also the privacy policy. I know Councilmember Slawinski asked about the terms and conditions changing, but the privacy policy, do we know how often that changes, and are we notified every time it changes? Because that's not included on our signature page.
I'll let Jackie answer that question.
Sure. The privacy policy is not often updated, but can be updated, particularly in the event of, changing privacy laws and regulations across the country. We would notify customers of an update to the privacy policy through like an alert on our website.
But do you know how often it changes, like an actual number?
Candidly, I've been with the company for 6 months, and I don't know. It has not changed in the 6 months that I've been at the company.
Okay.
Other questions?
I was going to say, it sounded like everybody said for now, so do we want to go back around? I can be done for now.
So I'm taking
or
my
you,
second
sorry,
turn, and
yeah.
then we'll give everyone else their second turn. Someone mentioned during public comment that something to the effect, I made a note, and I can't read on my writing, but something to the effect that the cameras that are in place at any time could be changed so that they're capturing other information. Can you speak to that?
Without context, a camera itself can be changed, of course, right, through either mechanical engineering or virtual engineering. So if we have software to lay on top of a camera, and that's any camera, not just Flock, right? Can those be changed to enhance images? Yes, right. That's the goal, is so that. Let me give you an example of that. San Francisco, they had a homicide. The person that was suspected of committing the homicide via reporting parties was on a gas-powered scooter that had some unusual things attached to it. They were able to search the license plate readers to find those unusual items on that scooter and then attach that photo that had the license plate and then start the investigation. If you go back, let's say 2019, when I started using license plate readers in my police department, we didn't have that capability. It purely captured license plates, and then the license plate information would give you a make model, but it wouldn't give you a color. And that was all based on human entered data. So it was bought through a company called Carfax. Carfax buys data from car repair shops, et cetera. A human enters, this car is a 1995 Toyota Camry. But if it's a Corolla, it's going to come back as a Camry. So we enhance cameras, not just us, every company does this, we want to rely on machine learning more than we want to rely on human entry in order to ensure that what we're seeing is accurate as opposed to misinformation.
So let me redirect sort of the question. I think the assertion is, right now we're like, we don't have the cameras that take pictures of people. We just have license plate readers. I think the question is, without our knowledge, could that camera that just takes pictures of license plates suddenly be able to capture different and more comprehensive information?
Yeah, I'm going to refer this over to Jackie. I don't believe that we're able to change what a camera does in the terms of a contract, but I'll let Jackie answer.
I'm not talking about the contract. I'm talking about the functionality.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Jackie, are you able to answer that one, or do you want me to answer that?
Well, I mean, I cannot answer whether we could physically do it, but I can answer that we are not permitted to do it. And so I think it's probably a two-part answer. Like, would we do that without a customer's consent? No. Nothing in the contract would allow us to do that without a customer's consent.
I think the question is the technology available to do that?
I can answer that, and the answer is yes, right? Any company that develops technology can change technology. As a matter of practice, right? They can practically change something. Do they? That's each individual company determines what they do and what they don't do based on their company models.
All right, one of the other questions that I wrote down is, and I guess this is Mr. Newshai's. Someone mentioned, how can we ensure that our contract is adhered to?
You cannot. I mean, we have an agreement, obviously. It's a lot better, infinitely better than what we had presented last time around. But at the end of the day, we won't be able to control what Flock does with its data.
Okay. So I know, so I'm going to just pontificate here. This is a very, very difficult decision for the council because I've grown to respect Chief Bowes very much in my interactions with her in the past couple months, and I appreciate how responsive she is to residents, and I would hate to take any tools away from her, but I also respect the community that has spoken out, and so we need to meld that. And I was reminded tonight of when we were hearing some sentimental stories. Back in 2014, my favorite aunt with undiagnosed dementia, my favorite aunt, like me, those of you who know, I gave myself food poisoning 2 weeks ago. I can't cook. My favorite aunt would go out to eat every day, and she went to one of two places. She would go for a burger or she would go for a sub. And she got in her car and was driving to her burger joint where she went every day for lunch. And there was a fire, there was a building fire that blocked her from getting to her lunch destination. And she probably, because dementia runs in my family, she was diverted. The cops actually, the police, stopped her and gave her a ticket because she was trying to drive around the barrels because she knew one way to get to her lunch. And they gave her a ticket and they diverted her. And she got lost. And she drove all day until eventually she crashed her car in the late at night into the airport in Detroit. And she crashed her car and she got out and she died. And I think of, it's her that I think of, that we reported that she was missing early, and we called the police. I remember being on Facebook and like texting Jay Towers, please let everybody know my aunt's missing. But if a flock camera had been available to trace her license plate, she might have been caught way earlier than in the middle of the night and dying. And so those are real stories that I think we have to consider when we make this decision. And so it's all those things together. With that, Councilmember Tinlin.
Well, I think I've said my piece, you know, and again, there's been a lot of good discussions here, but also when you do the what-if scenario, right? That's, you know, the probability of that happening, probably not, right? So you use what-if sometimes to get your point across. I've heard a lot of what-ifs. So I think there's an adequate administrative control in our police department with a tool that's been proven because we have costs and results that we should continue forward.
Councilmember Spisak.
I guess I would bounce it back to the city attorney to see his thoughts on the red line contract and if he feels it's suitable enough for us.
Obviously, I think it is, again, a lot better than what we had initially. And I'll also state for what it's worth that we do have contracts that we've signed on to that we have very little ability to negotiate. I imagine you can agree that we've never even looked at the Microsoft contract, but those are very different services, right? Some contracts are of such quality that we have no ability to negotiate. This being the service that it is, you know, obviously fundamentally different. We needed additional protections. My negotiation and my conversation with the attorney for Flock was obviously one that resulted in this particular agreement that is infinitely better. There still remains obviously is it that ideal contract that what I would want for the city? No. Obviously the reference to the terms and, to the privacy policy, right, it has an effect. When we look at the 4.1 in the agreement, it says Flock will process such data in accordance with the applicable law and the privacy policy set forth, right? That's the data that you're talking about. That's a consideration for you to have. Obviously, I have no voice in this regard. I only speak to the contract itself. But that's part of your consideration ultimately. The mergers and acquisition portion that they have not agreed to, I agree with Councilmember Tinlin. He is correct that any company that would inherit this agreement would be inheriting the terms and conditions as set forth in the Master Services Agreement, coupled with the privacy policy.
Thank you. I appreciate it, of course.
Councilmember Slawinski.
This is really tough because we do trust you, Chief Boss, and all of your police officers and your sergeants and everybody for the city. You've keeping me safe and my family safe for over 60-some years. I'm not 60, but pretty close coming up. It's just, you know, it wasn't, the information that I've heard isn't just from the people that are here tonight. I've got emails, calls, text, and mostly by residents. There were non-residents who were Oakland County, and we appreciate your input because we're learning from you. But it's tough because of this not being able to control the data. I think that a lot of people are just really concerned about in the city. So, but I appreciate you taking a look at the contract, and, you know, it's going to be tough. So that's all I have to say for now.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yeah, I got no more questions. I'll just leave it with, you know, this is a renewal. This was approved 2 years ago. It's not a new program. Our PD would be one of the only besides Ferndale, the only one around us without it. Chief recommends it. I can defend a yes, but I would struggle to defend a no to the next victim of a crime we could not solve. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Councilmember Peltonen.
Yeah, we've heard, I agree with Councilmember Slawinski. We've been hearing from a lot of different people, not just here tonight. But I was noticing it. We heard from IT professionals, software developers, and engineers who live in Clawson, out of Clawson, who have experienced this in Ferndale, and all of those people spoke against Flock. And while we did have people come and speak in favor of Flock, I noticed that every single person who spoke in favor of Flock is on the city's payroll. So it's not the exact same. It doesn't mean the same to me, but I don't think I have any more questions. And yeah, I think
That's not true, though. Everyone who spoke in favor is not on the city's.
All right, I think that the bewitching hour is here, and we need to go ahead and do a roll call. And just so that we're all on the same page, the motion on the floor is to approve the renewal of the Flock contract at an annual fee of $12,000. Be approved.
Councilmember Peltonen.
I'm sorry, I was looking. You said we're voting now?
Correct.
I vote no.
Councilmember Slawinski.
No.
Councilmember Spishak.
No.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Mayor Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yes.
All right, the motion has not been approved. The motion fails because of the split council. All right. With that, Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke, I'm going to ask you to take over the meeting.
Where are we at here?
We're on item E.
All right, we're going to continue on to agenda item 9E, which is consideration of continued discussion of fiscal year budget 2026 through 2027, and this is if necessary. So if we have any more discussion.
Probably gonna get a motion, right?
I move that we have a discussion of the open items for fiscal year 2026, 2027.
Support.
I could just update you real quick. Obviously, we have an adjustment to make in the general fund for the police department now. And then, please recall, we did have we had briefed in the budget discussion for approximately $175,000 to potentially convert the decorative lighting in the downtown area to LED. I had an inquiry into DTE and found out that the ROI is in fact undesirable at almost 24 years due to the cost to convert each lamp. The budget will reflect an expense reduction of approximately $111,000 for a new expense to be approximately $57,000. Please recall this effort to consider LED was in conjunction with our need to address the fact that 8 lamps have failed and fallen from the lamp posts. This new number of $57,000 will replace 115 attachment mechanisms and place 5 new LED lamps to the posts that are currently without lamps. DT will soon be discontinuing our sodium vapor lamps / bulbs, the 115, as our lamps and or bulbs fail. DT will replace them at no cost. That change will be in the major streets expenditures.
Any comments? Discussion? Nope. No motion needed, so we will continue on. Next item is agenda item number 10, unfinished business. It doesn't look like we have any. So we will move on to agenda item number 11, which is public comments, items not on the agenda. And then again, please come to the podium, state your name, whether you're a resident of Clawson or not, and you get 4 minutes.
Sergeant Korb, I believe, I don't know for sure, that you just lost your SRO, and I am considering also leaving.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I didn't mention this in my first comment, but I also work in data security. I've been in the industry for 17 years, and I just want to thank all of you for protecting the data and the security of your citizens. I can't state enough how my heart is pounding right now. I think that you made a smart choice in voting no. I can say that based on the standards that my company sets for acceptable use, which are in terms of we follow the laws of the strictest laws in the entire world for data privacy. And Flock failed every single one of our AI litmus tests that we put forth. Our consumer report is going to be coming out in about a month. I hope that you read it, and I hope that it gives you peace of mind in knowing that you made the right choice for the citizens of the city.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. These are for the items not on the agenda.
That's right. Correct.
Good call, yes. No,
I
Jenna,
would just like to say thank you to the Clawson City Council, every member, regardless of which way they voted. I think you gave this matter the amount of due process and thought it deserves. I have seen too many municipal groups and other businesses just kind of put up these cameras without really thinking about it. I would just like to thank that you guys took the time to actually discuss this, look at your contracts, take out unfavorable agreements, and really give the matter attention it deserves. So thank you so much for your attention to this.
I echo the thank yous, but this is actually unrelated to the agenda, I promise. I try to bring positive things, especially when we're having really hard discussions. So I just want to recommend that for any green spaces you have in this beautiful city, consider putting native plants in that area. That is crucial to our environment and just a great thing for cities and would lower your long-term maintenance costs of grass lawns. That's all.
Hi, Jamie Gills, Takanochi, Clawson resident. I am very thankful that we did not renew the contract tonight. I did want to bring up, though, that the accuracy of our agenda is really important to the integrity of our meetings. And the agenda item 9D, which was consideration of the MSA for the renewal of the flat contract system, under the rationale, it said a representative from Flock, Chief Baus, and staff are present for discussion. Normally on our agendas, this means there's a give and take between council and that person. It's council asking questions and that person responding. So this was not done the way it was said on the agenda. It was a presentation. It was a formalized presentation from the police department, and it should have been listed as such. Instead, what we were given was a one-sided, highly production promotional presentation that relied on emotional appeal rather than local audited data. We had a video that was simply fear-mongering. This was not what the agenda said. So I hope in the future, if we are going to have a one-sided presentation that the public cannot comment, that you let us know propaganda's coming. Thank you.
Stephen Traxel, 381 Lincoln, Clawson, Michigan. Councilwoman, I am not paid by the city, and I give my time. I don't know if you thought I was getting paid or not. Okay. I do want to bring up National Day of Prayer happening this Thursday, May 7th. The early origins of National Day of Prayer, days of prayer, fasting, and thanksgiving were common in the American colonies during the American Revolutionary War. The Continental Congress called for National Days of Prayer, asking people to seek guidance and support during the struggle for independence. In 1789, George Washington issued a proclamation for a National Day of Thanksgiving and Prayer, setting a precedent for future leaders. Later presidents, including Abraham Lincoln, also proclaimed National Days of Prayer during times of crisis such as Civil War. The modern National Day of Prayer was officially created in 1952 when Harry S. Truman signed a bill passed by Congress. This law called for an annual day when Americans could turn to God in prayer, but it did not set a specific date. In 1988, Ronald Reagan amended the law to designate the observation as the first Thursday in May each year. Since then, every president has issued a proclamation recognizing this day. This Thursday at 7 o'clock, we will be celebrating the National Day of Prayer with many other members of this great city across the street at the gazebo. I would invite all of our council members to join us for this wonderful celebration of prayer for our city, because I know that our city needs it, as other cities do. Thank you. Please join us this Thursday at 7 o'clock, National Day of Prayer. We'd love to see you council members there. Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
Hi, Chris Garr, Royal Oak, just on 13 miles, so walking distance from here, honestly. I want to first of all commend the board. Honestly, this was a pretty good meeting. The decorum between other members and with the public was honestly really good compared to the past few that I've been at. I'm getting more involved in local politics anyway, and the past few board meetings I've been to were disappointing, to say the least. So you've all conducted yourself, even the professional members, very well. So I do want to hand it to you. On top of that, I do want you guys to know that this is a very important topic to the Flock Committee themselves. That's why they were here today in person. That's why they were sending their marketing team here last meeting. So it is a very important agenda item to a corporation who is trying to get eyes and ears on every street corner in America. So I do want you guys to understand that their defeat here today, they're not going to take lightly. So just please protect yourselves. And I also want to say, in other board meetings where I've seen this sort of scenario go down, the chief of police, of course, is usually in favor of these sorts of technologies, which is the right stance for a police officer to be. They want the best tools. They want the access to the best technology. That makes sense. The chief conducted herself great. No notes on that. I want you guys to understand your roles, though. Here, the chief of police would be the bronze. In this committee room, you guys are the brains. It's not always your job just to agree and give the best tools possible. So I do want to commend you guys for doing your duty, deliberating, trying to figure out what the best solution is, because that is what is your role, not just accepting what the police chief would like. Thank you.
Hi. I would also like to thank you for your scrutiny of this topic. I think good things stand to scrutiny. I would also like to show my appreciation for the police. I don't think that any of this is anything anti-police. We have full faith in our police, and we love what they do, and we are glad to that they have the resources and protect our community. Ferndale's concern wasn't the people in their policing. It was outside people accessing their data that gave them the realistic concern. We want to support the police, and I'm only speaking for myself, but I know that others, we've seen that the Orion Township had an issue moving forward with their policing contract. We support them wholly in that. I do have concerns, and I mentioned the NSPM 7, and what that does is that increases our police ability. And so my main concern is just casual remarks where we are being referred to as there's an actual concern for retaliation. That puts that casual comment puts a real target on people's back due to the NSPM 7 that classifies us all as domestic terrorists, and by the person who's in charge of enforcing that policing. I support you, and I'm really proud of your scrutiny of things. An additional concern is that these Flock license plate readers directly integrate with the drones. So by accepting the Flock, you may also be accepting the drones too. And so I encourage in forward thinking to scrutinize that contract too, and to please make every bit of it available for us to scrutinize too. Currently, that's what we're looking at, and we're being faced with a $2,200 FOIA request to even look at the contract to scrutinize. So I just want to applaud you, and I'm very thankful for the police, and we promote the safety, and there's not an ounce of violence here. I know that sometimes we get a little bit passionate, but we're siding with the ACLU. We're just here to protect our civil rights. And I thank you for standing up for us and your community. And we stand for the police too. And I appreciate you guys.
Anybody else for public comment, items not on the agenda?
It is, but it isn't. Scott Manning, resident of Clawson. I know this has been a rough meeting, and governing is sometimes very difficult in the passions and decisions that others make that they might not later wish they have made. So with one or two or more officers suggesting or threatening that they will leave. I urge the city to have a cooling off period before accepting any resignations to allow for reconsideration. And I stand before you 1,000% in support of our police department. I am not in support of Flock, but I am fully in support of Clawson's law enforcement team.
Anybody else for public comment? Items not on the agenda?
Ben Bonnen, resident of Clawson. I'm happy to see that we had good candidates to fill the vacant seat, but I'm here today to discuss why that seat is vacant. So far, at City Council, it has not been acknowledged that seat is empty due to violent political intimidation. The former council member was threatened with death both privately and publicly. I myself saw nooses posted below videos of her talking in this room. And so far, I haven't heard a single word of condemnation for those threats made against an elected official. And not only will nobody on City Council stand up for their colleague whose life was threatened, only Mayor Moffett so far has even publicly acknowledged that it happened. I read it in the newspaper. Words of inspiration about loving your neighbor and respecting each other's opinions falls very flat when you refuse to protect your neighbors from violent threats. And now that those who made those threats have seen that you'll abandon your colleague, they know that it works. They know that their threats will go unchallenged. So the question that you might want to ask yourself, who's next? Are you going to stay in line with the people that make these threats? Are you going to make sure that you stand for the pledge now that it's being enforced through violence? You don't want to be on the wrong side of, you don't want to say something that someone could exploit on the internet to stoke violent reaction, which brings me to the outlets that stoke the violent threats. We can't do anything about them, but what I know is that they don't watch Clawson City Council. No, one of us went to them and asked them to make the city council person a target. One of our neighbors invited this into our community. To them, I say, we need you to come forward and apologize. Humility inspires grace. I know I'd be able to find it in me to forgive you, because we can't begin to heal from this until you remove the dagger that you plunged into the city. It's times like these that test our slogan of little city with a big heart, and we need to earn it. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you. All right. Any more? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll move to agenda item number 12, which is the city clerk's report. Michelle?
Thank you. I'll be real quick. I know it's been a long night. I wanted to go over our boards and commissions vacancies that are either happened or upcoming. We have an opening in the library board coming up here soon on June 30th. There is opening on the compensation board, which these are some of these we've received applications for reappointment, some we have not, but I just wanted to let the council know what's coming up. So we have one seat on the compensation commission coming up July 1st. The historical commission's a July 1st expiration, and then we have one on the Parks and Recreation Board, which we have received a reappointment application for, and the Traffic and Safety Board, we have I think, 3 expirations coming up, and we've received 2 reappointment applications for. These have been sent out to all of the council and to the mayor. We just need direction to put it on an upcoming agenda. They remain in their seats until you make an appointment or, reappoint somebody else. So at this point, it's just more of a notice that we do have these dates coming up. And that's all I
Ask a
have.
question, for the library board and the compensation and the historical society, do we know if the people who currently hold that seat are they resigning, or do they want to be reappointed, or we don't know?
I do not have reappointment applications yet. I do know that the library board, there was some discussion about possibly a retirement there from that board. So we'll have to lean on the librarian for that board to see, because I have not received one from her yet, but she may be still thinking about it. But those are just where we're at right now. And I think the ones that you just received were reappointments to the seats that they're in.
Right. That was for the Parks and Rec and the traffic.
Yes.
But
So the others aren't due until July, but maybe
Okay.
we'll reach out to the boards to at least check and see if they're interested in being reappointed. We'll make sure you get those.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We'll move on to item 13, City Attorney's Report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. I wanted to congratulate Michelle on the City Clerk Appreciation Proclamation. And of course, because I'm seething with envy, I would like to point out that Love Your Lawyers Day is first week of November.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
Just one man's opinion here. But otherwise, unless you have any questions, I have nothing additional. Thank you.
What day is that? You know, my son's an attorney.
November 18th.
Oh.
But how well would I know?
Thank you, Mr. Nushai.
Thank you.
Next, item number 14, the City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Pro Tem. I'm going to pare mine down dramatically. All right, so the only real updates to the construction, the Chocolate, Goodale, and Leroy, the water main replacement project, that construction start is going to be mid-month. And we are very close to nearing to completing the bid packet for Dreon School, Stefan. And once that is complete, the bid will hit the street. And hopefully about, I think maybe in the next few meetings, you should have a recommendation before you. So, depending on any questions.
Can I have a question about that? Just because I live on Dreon, and we're all tore up because of the.
Yeah, that continues, and it's in coordination.
And one of the Consumers Energy persons said that water was coming through next to do. There was some water.
There's a water replacement, yes, ma'am.
That's going to happen, and then after that.
The roads.
Okay, so awesome. Okay. Great.
Any questions for the City Manager? Go ahead, Laura.
I just have one question about the Renshaw gutters. Have those been taken care of?
I do not have an update on that. Do you, Nick?
We had another company come out to provide inspection today, so we're going to have a couple quotes and we'll be making a decision by the end of this week.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on to City Council comments, and we'll start with Councilmember Peltonen.
Okay, I do apologize for misspeaking, or I did think Mr. Traxel was part of the administration because I've often seen him in a police uniform, so I do apologize. A few things I want to thank Michelle, though, the citizen, for setting up and constantly being in touch with Berkeley so we could figure out how to make that happen here. So I really appreciate all your legwork. And the 3 things that I think is just really nice to know when things are going on around town that I always feel like I learn too late is this coming up Tuesday, so a week from today, is the Pause to Read at the library. So you can call or stop in and sign your kiddos up for 10-minute intervals. The last board meeting I went to, I believe they said only 2 people showed up to that. So I think that would be neat to do. And the district art show from Clawson Public Schools is also starting next Tuesday. And they have an open house from 5 to 7 p.m. And then they will be open a few times throughout the week for you to go and check out the cool art stuff at the CHS Media Center. And they are also continuing their bike bus not the 22nd, but Friday mornings, Mr. Shell starts the whole school, or whoever wants to can ride their bikes to school. So if you see them riding by, you'll know. This week they start at Custer, and that'll be around 7:30. So everyone has a heads up.
Thank you, Councilmember. Nothing from me tonight. I'll give you the last word. Councilmember Selinsky.
Nothing for me tonight. Thank you for everybody for coming. Thank you for staff for putting everything together for us tonight. And thank you, congratulations, Michelle, for being an integral part of getting us organized and together. And to Vince, too. Yeah, thank you.
Councilmember Spisak.
A couple things. I wanted to give a shout out to the Clawson softball and baseball youth. Meredith and I had a great time playing in the game. If you came out and watched, it was a real struggle for both of us, but it was a good time. Meredith got on base way more. But special thank you to Jen Skridillis, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. She's the GM of that. It was a super fun time, and I look forward to hopefully playing next year. I wanted to give a special thank you to Michelle and Vince and Todd from the clerk's office. You guys work tirelessly for us, and I appreciate everything you do. And I wanted to thank everybody else who came out and, heard both sides. We had a really good discussion tonight. And last but not least, congratulations to Adam. He popped in a little later today. We look forward to working with you.
Yeah, congrats, Adam. Councilmember Tinlin.
I always have a couple, but this is all about the Clawson Youth Assistance. We're going to be having Tiger tickets for the families and kids. There's 40 tickets available. That's going to be June 22nd. We have a water park excursion for the families. That's going to be around July. We're just finalizing that now. And we're also having a day camp sign up in Kenwood for the summer. So you can find all that information at our website that's on the City of Clawson website. So I've been enjoying working with the CYA quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot one thing I'm going to say. Sorry.
I guess I'll
just jump in real quick. On Sunday, this upcoming, it's Mother's Day, there is a fundraiser at Red and the Wolf. You can come and get your picture taken with your pet, cat, dog, turtle. And the $10 goes directly to the Feline Fund. So I wanted to give them a shout out because that's a cool event.
Wait, what was the tax date again?
It is this Sunday, I believe the 10th, 5 to 7, at Red and the Wolf.
All right, Mayor Moffett, take it away.
All right, did you already go?
Yeah, I didn't.
Did you? Okay, sorry. All right. First of all, I want to thank everyone who came out. I appreciate everyone's thoughtful comments. Your opinions are very valuable. It was a very tough decision, but I appreciate and acknowledge the value of everything that you had to say. I guess I don't feel like it was our council's place to opine on illegal activity. I know that all of us were very distraught about what happened to our former council member. We all, in our own ways, tried to give her the support that we thought that we could give her. I know we've all reached out to her personally, and admonishing and taking care of illegal activity is in the hands of the police department, and I know that they were working with her. Additionally, I know that I personally have a coworker whose husband's on the state police, and he did what he could for her I asked him to look into it. All of us did everything that we could and that we felt that we could do within our reach. And so, we all did. We all gave her the support that we thought we could give her. We also have an obligation as far as freedom of speech for those who came out and spoke against her to allow them to speak, and those who supported her to allow them to speak. So I think that all of us are sad she's gone, and we tried to give her the support that we thought that we could within our reach. Having said that, I also want to acknowledge Happy Mother's Day to anyone who is a natural mother, a pet mother, or someone who's ever acted in the capacity as a mother, to anyone, because there's lots of definitions for mother. So if you have a mother that's still around, give her a call on Mother's Day. Celebrate for those important people in your lives. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for stepping up, not only today, but yesterday. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Anytime. All right. Well, I think that's it. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Support.
Roll call.
Councilor Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilor Spishak,
Yes.
Councilor Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yes.
Councilmember Peltonen.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Meeting's closed.
Close for business.
What's that?